All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. And thank you, as always, for waiting patiently for the intro to finish up there. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's October 1st, start of a new month. My favorite month, maybe, of the year. I love October. Weather's already improving. Already much cooler. I see that some people are wishing me a happy belated birthday. Thank you guys for that. I appreciate it. Saying W camera angle. Keep it that way. Yeah, so I just saw I got a direct donation from ACM. I'm going to read that in just a moment. Well, actually, hold on. It's right in front of me. Saying, did you get a chance to check out the Shohei Kondo video? You know, damn, I had it up the other day. I have such a problem with this. I had it up the other day, but I never actually watched it. Like, it was literally sitting there right after my stream. The problem was I had it up ready to be viewed, but when I when I finish my streams, I just like exit out of everything. And sometimes I regret doing that because I forget that, wait, I had something. I probably just could have checked my history, but I have it up now. I might, you know what? Maybe I'll watch this in the next members lounge we do. We could watch it together because I am actually very interested in this. So ACM, I apologize that I didn't get to watch it yet, but I do appreciate you reminding me. Because the other day I went to go try to find it again, and I was like, I forget the name of the person that he recommended. Yeah, we have a new chair here as well. I see we have a couple super chats too, which I will get to in a moment. The chair is extremely comfortable. Yeah, so for those who were able to tune into the members lounge yesterday, I actually did assemble this chair in the members lounge. I kind of joked around during yesterday's stream saying, like, that's what we'll do if the chair arrives in time, and it actually did. And so that's what we did. And funny enough, Leia actually ended the first members lounge we did yesterday. This is the first time this has ever happened. I gotta keep a closer eye out. She went to rub her face up against my PC and just straight up hit the power button and turned it off. And so I had to boot up part 2 of the members lounge. So that was a good time. But yeah, I've been sitting in the chair more since I assembled it yesterday. And man, I'm really glad I bought it because it is extremely comfortable. And it just feels like I feel much more relaxed. You know, I don't feel as tense. I don't feel as much pressure on my back, my lower back. So definitely, seemingly, a worthwhile investment. So ACM, thank you for the $10 direct donation, buddy. I really appreciate that. I have some super chats. Let's see here. So Waylark says, never understood these PC equivalent builds. The whole point on PC is to spend big for a more powerful experience, and consoles are meant to be entry-level, affordable hardware for the more casual gamer. And then you also say here with a super chat underneath, Miyamoto says he wants Nintendo to be left out of the game wars and not be focused on high specifications, but on good games that make them uniquely Nintendo. And then below that, Cypherpunk says, I love #ads on my PS5. We'll talk about that, Cypherpunk. But Waylark, yeah, I tend to agree with what you're saying here. I don't really care too much about the PC equivalent builds that people do, but to be honest, there's not a whole lot of topics right now, and I know that this is something that, even though it's maybe not something I'm that interested in, I think a lot of other people are interested in, kind of comparing how much would it cost to build a PS5 Pro equivalent PC. Would it be worth it? Would it be, significantly more expensive? Could it be done for the same price? And so I figured we could kind of just go over IGN and what they say here. And I did read some of the summary that IGN wrote up. And that's the part that I'm interested in kind of going over with you guys, because I think that's the part that becomes more subjective. And that's the conversation that I'm actually a little bit more interested in. But I do tend to agree with what you're saying, Waylark. It does, to me, at the end of the day, no matter what you're trying to achieve, where it's like, oh, I built a PC equivalent of this console for just, tad bit more money, or the same amount of money. I think there's always going to be a market for these two different sectors of gaming. I think there's going to be a market for the console. I think that there's just always going to be people who prefer that streamlined, more simplistic experience. But we will definitely dive deeper into that conversation, Waylark. And thank you guys for the super chats. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what we will be discussing over the course of the stream today. I see we have a couple more direct donations. Let me pull these up. Let's see. Titus. Wow, dude, Titus, bro. Very, very generous direct donation here. I see you dropped a $70 direct donation and then two $5 direct donations. Before I read what you say, Titus, thank you so much for that, man. That is extremely generous of you. I really do appreciate that support, bud. You're saying here, hey, MBG, sorry I wasn't able to be there at the stream yesterday. I celebrated my own birthday. Laughing. Happy belated birthday to you. I wish you all the best in the world, especially health and joy for you and your family. I hope you had a great day. And you say, I promised you a birthday present, so I would like to gift you this $70 so you can buy a game like Silent Hill 2 Remake, Metal Gear Solid Delta, or Death Stranding 2. Well, Titus, bro, that's so kind of you, man. I will do that. I'll put this $70 you donated towards a game. I do. So the timing of this, Titus, I got to tell you, is actually super interesting because it's not any of the games you listed, because I already have Silent Hill 2 Remake pre-ordered, and I had to pre-order it through Walmart, which is strange because when I went to go pre-order it through Amazon, they could not guarantee a day one arrival on October 8th. It was going to come like 2 days later, and I'm like, well, that's weird, but no, I can't do that. I want to play it the day it comes out. So I pre-ordered through Walmart, but something that they do is they take the money out like almost immediately when you pre-order through Walmart, but they could guarantee a day one. So a game I actually didn't pre-order yet that I also want to play is Until Dawn. And I actually I keep forgetting that Until Dawn is coming out in literally 3 days. It's coming out on October 4th. So what I think I might do is take your donation here and use it to buy Until Dawn, which is another game I'm excited for. Metal Gear Delta, I would put it towards that, but I don't know. I don't know when that's coming out. I usually don't pre-order games until we're very close to the launch, But Titus, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes and the kind words that you say. It really does mean a lot. We have some very awesome people here in the community, and, again, without sounding like a broken record, just know that the kind words you say definitely mean a lot more than maybe it seems on the surface. It's very kind. So good stuff, Titus. Thank you so much for that support, bro. And we have, let me see here. We have Cypherpunk. He says, since when did IGN become the reliable guys? Oh, no, they're not. They're not. I hardly ever cite IGN or talk about IGN, but again, we're a little bit sparse on topics today, so Kane-Z7 says, can I play my PS4/PS5 library of games I already bought with this PC, IGN? No. As of right now, you cannot. So something we might want to take into consideration. Titus, you're good with that? You're good with me getting Until Dawn? Awesome. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. All right, so let me give you guys a rundown of the topics that we're going to be going over and discussing today. Just give me one moment. I got like so many tabs up. I got to get better at managing my tabs. Okay. So we are going to be talking about IGN and how they put out, I think they put out both an article and a video, but I'm probably just going to read the article and talk about it, where, again, they created a PC equivalent PS5 Pro, and I want to go over this and talk about their conclusions, what type of conclusions they've come to, and see what they have to say. We're going to be talking about a situation that happened yesterday with the PlayStation 5 UI, where there was some kind of update, or at least people thought it was an update, that changed the home screen when you're on your games. Like if you're scrolling through the bar at the top, or all the games that you have at the top, basically what started to happen is it would show the latest piece of news, or what even just seemed to come off as a kind of advertisement for a different game or a product related to the game or something like that. And people were really losing their minds over this, because it did seem like this was something Sony did intentionally. But we have an update, because it did cause quite a bit of backlash. There was mass backlash, but apparently it had to do with a bug that they fixed, which is great news, because, man, people were ready to go to war with Sony over this, which I agree. It was a very strange thing to see, but we're going to talk about that and go over the situation. I have another topic that talks about how Sony is apparently, and I don't understand why it's just Japan specifically, but Sony is apparently going above and beyond to combat scalpers in Japan. So I don't know why they're just doing it for Japan, but it would have been really nice to see them do this all around. But I figured I would cover that. We have a couple of other topics as well, such as a developer chiming in, an engineer chiming in, giving their thoughts on the PS5 Pro. We also have an interesting Xbox related, well, I don't know if it's an Xbox related topic necessarily now, but it has to do with Tango Gameworks, and we might cover that too. So yeah, this is what we're going to talk about. I'm sure we'll have some other stuff we'll talk about as the stream goes on. I see somebody asking, how does this chair compare to the other one? It's a night and day difference. Genuinely, it's a night and day difference. The other chair I had, it's not that it was bad, but let me tell you, man, you sit on that chair, my old one, for 2 hours, and obviously I would sit on that thing for way longer than 2 hours. It just gets extremely uncomfortable. Your lower back starts to get sore. I didn't even have any armrests for it. So it created a lot of discomfort. And this one comparatively is dude, I feel like I'm sitting in a luxury recliner right now. And it's, I don't know. I like, what else I like about this chair? And I don't know if it's just in my head. I don't know if it's a psychological thing. I feel like this chair, because it's actually just physically making me feel more relaxed, it's just making it easier for me to focus on what's in front of me, and focus on the chat and what we're discussing. Maybe it's just in my head, but I just feel so much better. What kind of chair is it? I genuinely don't even know the name of it. I got to look it up, but I'll see if I can. It was on Amazon. I think it's normally a $400 or $450 chair. I got it on sale for $100 off. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Go to my orders. It is, where is it? Why can't I find it now? XCBet? I don't know. That's the name. EXCEBET. So it's probably some Chinese brand or something, but I was a little bit hesitant when I purchased it. I was like, I don't know, man. I hope it's not a cheap piece of crap. And to be honest, the materials probably aren't the best of the best. But as of right now, I'm very satisfied with my purchase. I wanted to buy a chair that focused primarily on comfort, and this is doing the job. So Before we dive into any of the topics, guys, and before I read the rest of these super chats, I do just want to let you guys know a couple of ways you can help support the channel, help support the community, and help support the content. We are completely fan-funded here. I'm sure many of you know that, but I have to continue to say this for new viewers that come in. Wow. That was a squeaky truck. Those are some squeaky-ass brakes. Did you guys hear that? Did that come through the mic? Anyway, my cats are freaking out right now. That was really loud. That actually hurt my ears. Hopefully that didn't come through too loud on the mic. What the hell was that? I don't know, man. I had my window open and some really large truck with extremely squeaky brakes. Did it really come through that loudly? Wow. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. The one time I leave my window open, you know? But guys, here are a couple of ways you can help support the channel, support the content. Obviously, viewing it means everything. Thank you guys so much for the viewership. Take a second and hit the like button. We're sitting at 85 likes. We can easily get to 100 likes. I want to see us crush that 100 like mark. And a couple of ways you can support more directly. Become a channel member. Okay, you gain access to exclusive perks like the Members Lounge, as well as member-exclusive gameplay streams. We did a Members Lounge yesterday. It was a very different, interesting, unique Members Lounge. A lot of people seem to enjoy it. So consider becoming a member. The second way is if you're already a member, consider gifting memberships. It's a big thing we do here. A lot of people really appreciate those membership gifts. If we hit the goal of 25, we will feed the beast and feed the Micro Panther. And the third way is consider donating a super chat, ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between. It all helps. And then there's a fourth bonus way with a direct donation link pinned at the top of the chat that more people are beginning to utilize, where you can leave a chat just like you would a super chat, but 100% of what you donate goes directly to the content creator. So thank you guys so much for making this possible. Couldn't do it without you. But we have Cypherpunk here who says, or sorry, not Cypherpunk. I read that one already. Waylark. Waylark says, if people want to buy a Pro, then buy one. Why keep comparing with PCs or prices? Don't feel the need to justify your purchase. Just buy it. I am in agreement, Waylark, but the problem with that is content. I need content. No, I, in all seriousness, Waylark, I'm in complete agreement with that. Like, regardless of what we go over today, I could tell you, spoiler alert, at the end of the day, I'm going to tell everybody, go with what you want. You know, it's interesting sometimes, I think, to evaluate the pros and the cons and compare these things. But at the end of the day, it's just an individual thing where what seems more appealing to you? Something like the PS5 Pro or a PC? You don't even have to list your reasoning. It doesn't matter. The reasons only matter to you, right? But content, Waylark. Work with me here, Waylark. KaneZ7 says, looks like a Bond villain chair. MBG about to take over the world. Yeah, a lot of people were talking about this chair and the way it looks, but man, it just feels so good. Feels so good, man. I'm so comfortable. Am I too comfortable? I don't know. Is this going to take the edge off? Am I going to be more hinged now? Could it be that my physical discomfort while streaming is what led to a more unhinged MBG? We will find out. Seven City, you think the chair is horrible. What don't you like about it? It's distracting. But I'm sorry. Try not to be distracted by the chair. I don't know. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I mean, it's not like it's not like it's rainbow colored or something, you know, or like a bright red or whatever. It's the size maybe is a little bit distracting, but overall, Captain Hook says big ass chair. Well, if it makes you guys feel any better, this should make it so that I can stream more effectively. Okay. All right. With that being said, let's dive into this topic. 3 more likes and we hit 100 likes, by the way. IGN. They put out this article apparently it came out earlier in September, but I just recently came across it. They say you can build a PC equivalent to the PS5 Pro. Here's how. Now that Sony has finally unveiled the PS5 Pro packed with a more powerful GPU and little else, I've taken a look at the specs to see what an equivalent gaming PC would look like. And, well, you can build a machine using practically the same exact hardware for just a bit more than buying the new, more expensive console. I know the PS5 Pro is already expensive, but having one of the best gaming PCs is useful for more than just video games, and it'll be supported much longer than Sony will support its console. If you'd like to dip your toes in PC gaming instead, here are the parts I've picked out to build a PC roughly equivalent to the PS5 Pro. So the first part is the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X. While the AMD Zen 2 microarchitecture behind the PS5 Pro is old news at this point, it's still an incredibly powerful platform. Plus, unlike some older PC components, you can still buy this CPU. The AMD Ryzen 7 3700X is basically a spec for spec what the PS5 has to offer, with 8 cores and 16 threads. Plus, because it'll have better power delivery and cooling just by virtue of being in a less claustrophobic system, it should perform better in a gaming PC than in the PS5. If you do want to save a bit of money, however, you can easily opt for the Ryzen 5 processor instead, and you won't really lose much in the way of gaming performance. So let's check the price of this on Amazon. $180. Okay. Next up, the XFX Speedster Radeon RX 6800. When Sony revealed the PS5 Pro would have 40% more compute units than the original PS5, I immediately started doing some napkin math to see what the new specs would look like. What I ended up with was a GPU built on the same RDNA 2 architecture, but with 60 compute units, which is exactly what the AMD Radeon RX 6800 is. The RX 6800 is a last-generation graphics card at this point, but it's still a powerful piece of hardware, and more importantly, still being sold in stores. The RX 6800 launched for $580 back in 2020, but it's much more affordable now, typically being found at around $350. Plus, a dedicated graphics card like the RX 6800 will be able to stretch its legs a bit more, primarily because it doesn't have to share RAM with the processor. It has 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM to play with all on its own. So let's go see how much it is on Amazon. Well, that's not right. I think I clicked the wrong thing. On Amazon, it's listed at $360. Before I continue here, we have Cypherpunk. He says, is the chair big or is MBG small? I'll let you guys decide that one. Well, for anybody who was in the members lounge yesterday, you saw me compare. I brought in my old chair and I put it next to this chair. And in all seriousness, dude, this chair dwarfs my other chair. My other chair looked like so micro and tiny next to it. So this is a big chair, dude. I'm not like a huge person. Like I'm like 5'8", 5'7", 5'8". So, you know, I'd say I'm like average, I guess. But yeah, no, this chair is huge. You should see Mrs. MBG sitting in this chair. She was sitting in it yesterday, and it was ridiculous. Her feet couldn't even touch the ground. It was funny. She liked it, though, a lot. She thought it was really comfortable. I had to, like, kick her off of it. And Dreadful83 uses his milestone chat, a member for 14 months. Thank you for that, Dreadful. You're saying, I like that chair, but I watched this video of Ubisoft talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and then you're saying, oh, okay. Well, you continue here with a $10 super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. And it's your 10th time super chatting as well, so thank you, Dreadful. You're saying, sorry I pressed send by accident, but what I got from the video was that they were going to hide the woke stuff in the trailers until we buy the game and play it. You should look it up. Oh, that's wild. I've been seeing more people making videos about Assassin's Creed Shadows and talking about it because of the recent delay, and even Ubisoft kind of acknowledging like, oh, we're not trying to appeal to just a single agenda or anything like that. It's a little bit awkward, but that would be I mean, I don't know if I believe that, Dreadful, like, because it just sounds so incredibly stupid where it's like, why would you do that? You know, like, I say this because, yeah, you'll get the upfront sales, but if you decide to hide certain stuff that you know people are going to criticize or be really upset by or frustrated with, it's going to come out anyway, you know? And when it comes out, it's going to hurt the sales of your game. So I imagine Ubisoft wants Assassin's Creed Shadows to sell well, obviously initially, and they'll get the bulk of their sales there, but they likely expect it to sell well throughout the months and throughout the next year or two. And so if they were to do something like that, it would essentially make it so that not only would it just damage the reputation. Luna, are you serious? Not only would it just damage the reputation of Ubisoft as a whole and the Assassin's Creed brand, but it's going to basically kill any potential, or really hurt anyway, any potential mid to long-term sales. I'm not saying it isn't possible, and it would be kind of funny if at the end of the day they had all this crazy stuff planned. Okay, Luna, you're making me mad. Hold on, guys. She's knocking a bunch of stuff down. I'm sorry. This cat's nuts, dude. What I was trying to say, Dreadful, is that it would be pretty funny if the reason why Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed at the last minute was because they realized, we got to change some of this stuff. We got to change it right now. I don't know, though. The current rumor that I've heard is the reason why Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed was because it's a buggy mess. She's going to get that open. She is ready for the treats. If she gets that open, I'll let her eat those treats because there's only it looks like there's only 6 or 7 left in there. But she's really smart. She's going to figure out how to open that thing. And so, Dreadful, thank you for that. Waylark with a super chat says, wouldn't the easier argument be, can a PS5 Pro do all the things the IGN built PC can do? I mean, yeah, probably. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be as clickable or as appealing. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but if you think about it, that would be essentially what it boils down to. Because when we finish going over this PC equivalent PS5 Pro, when we finish going over it, you're gonna see at the bottom, where they talk about their, their general thoughts. Hold on, bro. All right. But yeah, sorry, I'm just distracted by something. Waylark, yes, I think you're correct. The easier argument would be that, because if you were to build a PC equivalent to the PS5 Pro, at that point, the only thing people are really going to want to know is, if it does cost a little bit more, what are the advantages? And then that's why I say at the end of the day, it's up to the individual to decide. Here's what a PC can do outside of gaming that a PS5 Pro can't do. Does that sound worth the extra, however much it costs? She's really going at it. Cat is body slamming the tree pin. She's aggressive, dude. Look at her. She's determined. She's like, I'm gonna figure it out. She's really smart. She doesn't give up. I'll give her a little bit more time. All right, so let's continue with this IGN article here. Patriot Signature Premium 16 gigabytes DDR4 RAM says picking the right RAM to go into the system is a bit tricky, mostly because the PS5 shares memory between the CPU and GPU, something that typically doesn't happen in a gaming PC with a discrete graphics card. However, you do need a good amount of memory to make your system work smoothly, and right now 16 gigabytes is about the minimum I'd recommend for a modern gaming rig. That does mean when paired with the Radeon RX 6800, the system will technically have 32 gigabytes of memory, but because the system memory and the video memory are separate, it's not directly comparable. You should also keep in mind that the DDR4 Patriot memory here will be much slower than the GDDR6 unified memory in the PS5 Pro. But again, it's not being accessed by the GPU. It shouldn't impact gaming performance too much. See, it's also kind of funny how there's like, even when you're reading, you know, this IGN editor, I guess, putting together all these components, it's funny how there's still like these kind of small caveats, which, you know, is important to let people know about. But it just goes to show that, like, you know, the deeper you go into it, the more you start to realize that it might not be as simple as it seems on the surface. Like, there might be a little bit more to it, you know? But continuing on here, and let me see, what is the price of this RAM? Only $32. That's pretty cheap. Next up, the MSI B55, or 550M Pro Wi-Fi. I'm just going to give Luna these treats. She earned them, you know? I just feel bad because she gave up and was trying to leave. I'm like, well, you fought hard enough. It says, just like the CPU is colloquially referred to as the brain of your PC, the motherboard is kind of like the extended nervous system connecting every part of your machine to the processor. There are a lot of really nice motherboards that are packed with shiny features that most people will probably never use. You can absolutely go for something fancy, but you'll easily spend double or triple that the MSI B550M Pro Wi-Fi will cost you. It's not exactly bare bones either, though. The MSI B550M Pro Wi-Fi still has built-in Wi-Fi, so you won't have to wrestle with an external Wi-Fi adapter to get it connected to the internet. After all, the PS5 Pro has Wi-Fi built in, so this PC should have it too. This affordable board also costs an M.2 SSD slot, which isn't guaranteed in a mid-range motherboard from this generation. That means you can connect a speedy SSD like what's found in the PS5 Pro. So I do want to point something out here with what they're saying. First, let me see how much this costs. This cost on Amazon $100. Isn't one of the main features that the PS5 Pro is kind of touting is Wi-Fi 7, which is like the most cutting edge version of, I guess, Wi-Fi? Yeah. The PS5 Pro offers Wi-Fi 7. So, again, this is where, as we read further into this IGN comparison, it just, I'm not saying it falls apart, but it definitely starts to get a little bit murky. But MBG, most don't own a Wi-Fi 7 router. I guess that's true. Yeah, I didn't realize you would need that. Okay. Yeah, maybe that changes it up a little bit then. I guess as we go forward in the next couple of years, Wi-Fi 7 routers are going to become... Are they going to become more prevalent? But yeah, that's true. You do get it in the console regardless. Are they really that expensive? I see some of you guys saying that a Wi-Fi 7 router costs like $600, $800. Dude, that's crazy. I mean, my recommendation is always try to go hardwired. You know, try to have an Ethernet cable plugged in. I know it's not easy for everybody, and a lot of people do need to rely on Wi-Fi. The better the Wi-Fi, I get, you know. I do want to check this though. That's let's see, Wi-Fi 7 router. Yeah, I don't know. I see one here. Wi-Fi 7, it says TP-Link dual band Wi-Fi 7 router, $120. I don't know if that's like a bad brand. I mean, it's got 27,000 reviews, 4.5 stars. I see another one here, Wi-Fi 7 router, $250. Yeah, I don't think these Wi-Fi 7 routers, here's another one for $250. I don't think they're as expensive necessarily as some people were saying. I do see one here for about $500. 12 stream, 19 gigabytes per second. Interesting. Netgear Nighthawk Wi-Fi 7 router, $330. So the prices seem to vary quite a bit for the Wi-Fi 7 routers. Am I on Best Buy or Amazon? I was checking Amazon. But, I mean, either way, I think you guys are probably right. Most people probably don't have Wi-Fi 7 routers yet. A lot of people, I think, either have Wi-Fi 6 or 5. The Nighthawk is good. Shadowlink. I haven't heard of Netgear in a long time. Let's continue on here, though. Next up, for the SSD, WD Black SN770. Because the MSI motherboard we're using has a built-in heatsink for the SSD, we don't need to get a drive with one included, like we would with the PS5. Instead, all we care about is speed and value, and that's a combination the WD Black SN770 is absolutely nailing right now. This is a PCIe 4.0 drive, which you can get with up to 2 terabytes of storage at a pretty decent price. The WD Black SN770 advertises speeds up to 5,100 megabytes per second, and I found it to meet or exceed those numbers when I tested it back in the day. It might not look like much, but this SSD will absolutely match the performance of the PS5 SSD as much as the Windows storage controller will allow for anyway. And this is priced at, let's see, $75. That's not bad. I see we have another direct donation here from Moonshot. Moonshot says, why is IGN so damn bitter? They better be doing the side-by-side comparisons for these 700 PCs that are apparently comparable. PlayStation hurt them. Well, you know what's worth noting here, Moonshot, is when we look at this article that I'm reading from, it was written on September 12th. So this was, I think, right at the exact time when the PS5 Pro was first revealed. And I'll tell you, the conversation around the PS5 Pro has changed, where the conversation around the Pro when it was first revealed was just genuinely toxic, where there was an insurmountable amount of hate and animosity and resentment towards this product. But I think it's changed a little bit since then, you know? Actually, I think it's changed quite a bit, where I think a lot of people have kind of relaxed on it. So I think this is part of the reason why IGN is coming off a bit bitter. But yeah, generally, IGN always seems bitter, right? I don't know what their problem is, Moonshot. I have to let Luna out real quick. Hold on, guys. This chair's so big when I have to like move around in it, it feels like gotta use some muscle, you know? Digital Dude 25 says, you and comic book Wolverine are the same height. That's not true, Digital Dude. That's not true. Comic book Wolverine is 5'3". I'm 5'8" or 5'7.5". One or the other. It's not true. I see you laughing. I see you laughing, Digital Dude. We also have Cypherpunk. He says the Pro $700 with a $200 router and a $1,000 TV and paying for online. A steal. Hold on. A steal. Only jokes. Calm down, people. How dare you? You leave. You leave right now, Cypherpunk. No, it is. I mean, it's kind of funny, though, when, like, people, I think, do this, right? They're like, all right, well, we have to take everything into account. I need to calculate how much I'm going to be paying for PS Plus for the next 5 years. I got to calculate how much my TV costs. Yeah, I have to calculate. And I'm like, I get it. But I think once you start going down that road, you know, once you start going down that road, I think you just have to, at some point, ask yourself, like, well, what are you trying to achieve? Like, when it's all said and done, you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of gamers do like cutting edge televisions, especially ones that have like features that are compatible with, you know, consoles and whatnot. But you also kind of have to consider, I mean, how practical is it to use a TV? Like if you want to have a nice TV, how practical is it to use that if you also want to have a gaming PC? You know, we've had that conversation where it's like, well, you can set up your PC in the living room, but it takes a little bit more effort. You know, it's just not going to be as streamlined as I plugged my console in. I plugged 2 wires in, and then I pressed the button on my controller, and that's it. And we're jumping in, you know? It's not going to be as streamlined, but it can work. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think people just have to kind of ask themselves, like, what are you really trying to achieve? You know? Is convenience the most important thing? Is comfort the most important thing? You know, are there certain things that you feel need to be fine-tuned? Do you just want to have like a home theater set up? Do you want to have a really sick, aesthetically pleasing desk set up, you know? But let's continue on here. So I think we just finished up with the SSD. Now we are moving on to the Thermaltake Tough Power GX2. Picking a power supply is inherently boring. They're these little gray boxes that we tuck away into the corner of our PCs and do our best to hide the cables. But while a power supply isn't exactly exciting stuff, picking one you can rely on is important. This is another component you can absolutely splurge on if you're not careful. But if you're pinching pennies, you should make sure that the power supply you're getting has an 80 plus bronze rating or better, so you know it's at least a bit efficient. The Thermaltake Tough Power GX2 fits the bill, and I'm going with a 600 watt option here because that's what AMD recommends to pair with the Radeon RX 6800. You can go for a higher wattage, of course, but it will cost you extra, though that extra cash could come with peace of mind. The important part is to make sure you're getting a PSU with at least 600 watts of power with an 80 plus bronze certification. So this on Amazon costs $62. Next up, the Cooler Master N200. If you're building a gaming PC in place of a too expensive console, you probably don't also want to have a gigantic tower becoming an eyesore in your living room. Luckily, there are so many micro ATX cases out there that are not much larger than the PS5 itself. The Cooler Master N200 is a tiny little PC case with an unassuming aesthetic and enough space to fit even a high-end graphics card. Plus, there's even a cutout for a disk drive if you really want to flex on the PS5 Pro. If you want to flex on the PS5 Pro, like, do you not have to buy the disk drive to put into the PC here? You could tell when you're reading this, like they're purposely trying to trigger people. It's kind of comical. You could tell when they go into writing these articles, like there's a mandate, like you got to try to annoy people. But this cost $60 on Amazon. And I do want to point something out here. So when it comes to this Cooler Master N200 casing for the PC components, it is pretty small. It is bigger than the PS5 and the PS5 Pro, but overall it's pretty small. I want to point out that there was a component this writer mentioned earlier that claimed because you have more space inside of your PC casing, therefore you will have better airflow, you should get better performance out of your, I think they said it was like the CPU. Yeah, so it says here the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X is basically a spec for spec CPU for what the PS5 has to offer with 8 cores and 16 threads. Plus, it'll have better power delivery and cooling just by virtue of being in a less claustrophobic system. It should perform better in a gaming PC than the PS5. But see, at the same time, at the bottom of this article, the case that they're recommending is one of the smaller cases you can buy for your PC, even going as far to say that it's really not much bigger than the PS5. So what you're saying is it might just end up being just as claustrophobic as the PS5. So, you know, I'm nitpicking a little bit here, but I just think, you know, these are things that we probably should keep in mind, where if somebody reads, oh, I should get better performance because it'll have more space and better, you know, heat dispersion. There you go. But then it's like, if I buy what this person's recommending, you're basically going to get a case that is almost the same size as a PS5 when it's all said and done. But I don't know. Let's see here. We have Ian, I think that's how you say your name. A member for 15 months says Days Gone was on Steam for $12. I bought it and holy shit. Performance, graphics, supports ultra-wide monitor. It's absolutely beautiful to play. Yeah, man. I remember when Days Gone launched on PC, a lot of people were quite impressed with everything that was on offer. I can't remember if Nixus did the port for Days Gone on PC, but I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. And I think you're gonna have a good time. It's a long game. Like, if you want to do everything on offer, it took me, I think, close to 100 hours to get the platinum. But that's good stuff, man. VenomFang181 says the AMD CPU the article mentioned isn't spec for spec with the PS5 Pro. It isn't capable of AI upscaling via DLSS, which would be the equivalent to PSSR. That invalidates the whole article. That's very true, VenomFang. I didn't even consider that. This reminds me of when we heard Digital Foundry talk about, you know, buying a PC equivalent PS5 Pro, essentially, right? He had originally referenced something like the 4080, and a lot of people took umbrage with that, but he was basically explaining that the PS5 Pro GPU, or just the PS5 Pro in general, it is offering certain features that just are not currently available, you know, in components that are on the market right now, from like AMD or whatnot. So yeah, I guess you're right. Kind of using the terminology spec for spec, insinuating that it's exactly the same. PSSR seems to be pretty much I would say the biggest deal of the PS5 Pro based off of what we've seen in games so far. When we see games that are really starting to like image quality wise, they're starting to look even better than the base model fidelity modes running at 30 FPS, but it's achieving a higher image quality at 60 FPS somehow. That seems to be attributed to PSSR. And it is pretty disingenuous to kind of say, here, if you just buy all these components separately, put them in this case, build this PC, you'll basically be able to get what a PS5 Pro is offering. And yeah, it kind of goes back to what Moonshot said here, where it's like, I do hope IGN, when the PS5 Pro comes out, I hope they do some direct comparisons where, okay, take this PC that you recommended to possibly tens of thousands of people to buy instead of a PS5 Pro, which is actually more expensive, by the way. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Why don't you do comparisons now and see how they stack up? I'm not saying that the PC itself won't be able to effectively run a game. It'll probably run it pretty well. But yeah, I just think the general implication here is that if you were to buy this, all of these components that are recommended by IGN and build this PC, the implication is you basically have a PS5 Pro. And I don't know that it's going to work that way. Cobb Sanity says, for me, if I didn't upgrade my TV in the beginning of this year, I wouldn't have pre-ordered the Pro. But since I did, I said, F it. I'm going to get it. Well, there you go, man. I think I don't know. I don't want to say it'll be worth it because we have to wait till we get the console in our hands and experience the games ourselves. But based off of what I've seen with the improvement in the games that are being enhanced, I think you're going to enjoy it. I think it's going to feel like it was worth it. You have to let us know, Comp Sanity, what kind of TV did you get? Victor Grossfeld, a member for 17 months, thank you, buddy, says, can I play this IGN PC Ghost of Yotei? Can I play on this IGN PC Ghost of Yotei? Well, this is where we're going to get to the final part of this article, and I think what we're about to read is the most important part of this IGN write-up. It says, is it worth it? Altogether, the system will set you back about $863, which is more expensive than the $700 PS5 Pro. But you really do get more for your money with this gaming PC, even if all you want to do is play games on the thing. Not only do most PS5 games come to PC these days, but you also get access to pretty much any game on the Xbox Series X. A gaming PC inherently has a bigger library of games than any console on the planet. When this generation ends, as they all do, your PC will still play new games. Plus, because of the modularity of desktop PCs, you can upgrade any component that's holding you back without having to buy an entirely new system like what you do with the PS5. That's also true if something breaks. If your PS5 Pro breaks and it's out of warranty, it's dead. It's a block of plastic and metal that'll never do anything useful again. But if parts on your PC break, you can open it up and repair or replace whatever component is causing you problems. A lot has been said about console gaming versus PC gaming, but even if it's technically less expensive than the PC that we built here, I don't know if the PS5 Pro is necessarily the cheaper option anymore, especially in the long term. So this final part here is what's most interesting to me because the person who wrote the article is revealing their hand, and by hand, I just mean they're revealing their opinion that is ultimately, well, I don't want to say the entirety of it is subjective, but a lot of it is subjective. And, I want to kind of break it down here. So altogether, this PS5 Pro equivalent PC is $863. So no matter which way you slice it, this PS5 Pro equivalent PC, which was just pointed out, by the way, that the AMD CPU, as Venom Fang mentioned, is not actually spec for spec. Okay? You're not getting AI upscaling. You're not getting that with this PC. With the PS5 Pro, you're getting PSSR. So keeping that in mind, this supposed PS5 Pro equivalent PC is $863. That's $163 more than the PS5 Pro. So it's more expensive. So if you're just looking at both and trying to decide if you're just trying to game, which one you're going to want to go for, in terms of pricing, the Pro wins out in being the cheaper option. But then he goes on to say that even if all you want to do is play games, the reason why the PC is better, and this part I found pretty funny. He says, not only do you get most PS5 games on PC these days, but you also get access to pretty much any game that's offered on the Series X. So I'm going to be honest. The idea that somebody would forego a PS5 Pro or even just a base PS5, but if they want that extra performance, the idea that somebody would forego a PS5 Pro because, well, I'll get most PlayStation games eventually, maybe, but I also get Series X games. I'm not saying that's not something that should be considered, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is if you're eyeing the PlayStation console, one of the biggest motivating reasons, if you're somebody who's paying this close attention, is probably what games you're going to get on there that you're not going to get on PC. And that's why I feel like the whole idea about what they're saying here regarding you get access to Series X games as well, like, it's subjective. I'm not going to say that doesn't matter, but it just feels like a kind of strange thing to throw in where it's like, hey, did you know that you can play Series X games on PC but not PS5? I mean, I could kind of turn to that and be like, I don't know. Microsoft just released their first batch of Series X games on PS5. It's not every game, and there is a difference there, but it's happening. So it's a very weak, I think, kind of argument to try to make, or a weak reason. I'm not even saying it's an argument. They're not arguing it, but it's a weak reason to bring to the table where it's like, but you get Series X games. What I really want to focus on here is when they say, not only do most PS5 games come to PC these days. See, this is where I feel like this article is being a bit disingenuous, where it's like, can you elaborate further? Can you go into more detail? Because you're speaking to potentially tens of thousands of people who are trying to decide, should I go with the Pro or should I just buy a PC equivalent? What you should say is a lot of PlayStation games do come to PC, but here are the caveats. You have to wait multiple years, and you don't know which ones are coming and when. That's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big, like, if I was somebody who was trying to find out, like, do I want to invest in a gaming PC or do I want to buy a PlayStation Pro console, a PS5 Pro? I would feel like that's the most important thing, where it's like exactly what Victor said, where it's like, am I going to be able to play Ghost of Yotei when it comes out on PC? No, you won't. Oh, so you're saying if I spend $863 on the supposed PS5 Pro equivalent, I'm just not going to be able to play Ghost of Yotei? No, but you can play Series X games. You see what I'm saying? This is why it just comes off strange. It's a little bit strange, but I think it would have been more important to highlight the fact that there are more caveats involved with PlayStation games going to PC than to just throw in there that, oh, you also get Series X games. Like, it almost comes off as more of a sales pitch and not like a unbiased, like, objective, here's the facts, right? It is a fact you do get Series X games, and there's nothing wrong with listing that, but to just kind of gloss over the fact that Ghost of Tsushima didn't come to PC till literally 4 years later. I'm not saying that means Ghost of Yotei is going to take 4 years to go to PC, but that's all we have to go off of right now. So you might want to throw in there that, yeah, some upcoming games like Death Stranding 2 and Wolverine and other future single player games from Naughty Dog, like, you might have to wait. like multiple years for these games. And I think for a lot of people, that's a huge difference maker in determining whether or not they're going to want to pay more money for a PC. So I just thought that part was pretty interesting. They do say here that a gaming PC inherently has a bigger library of games than any console on the planet. That is true. That's always been like an advantage of going to PC for gaming, is you just have way more games at your disposal. And for some people, that absolutely matters. You know, if you're somebody where you start to look at the library of games that are available on Steam versus, you know, you just start to see games that are available on Steam that are not available on console. There just might be some games that are like, oh yeah, I want that. I want those games, you know? And that could be enough. Gavin, a member for 17 months. Gavin Hillick says, what an article. Apart from playing fast and loose with the specifications, where's the controller with advanced feedback, along with things like PSSR? Yeah, see, this is why I feel like this article, I think it was just very quickly thrown together as a kind of almost reactionary thing to the PS5 Pro. Because, again, this article was written up on September 12th. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the exact day that the PS5 Pro was revealed. So it was just one of these things where it's like, we got to get clicks now, and we'll worry about the details later. So they also say here at the end, when the PS5 generation ends, as they all do, your PC will still play new games. Plus, because of the modularity of desktop PCs, you can upgrade any component that's holding you back, which will cost more money, without having to buy an entirely new system like what you'd have to do with the PS5. And that's true, but, you know, I guess, see, what's kind of funny to me about this is it's true that if you want the PS5 Pro, if you want to upgrade from the base PS5 to the Pro, you do have to pay $700. But, like, I mean, are we just going to kind of gloss over the fact that if you want to upgrade your graphics card and actually have, like, a significant, noticeable upgrade, it's going to cost, I'm not going to say it's going to cost $700, but it could. You know, I'm seeing people get excited for the 5080 and the 5090 or whatever, and people are saying that those graphics cards are going to be maybe like upwards of $2,000. And I'm just like, listen, I just don't know. I just don't know that this is a worthwhile argument, because it just, the deeper we go into it, the more it becomes clear that PC, it does offer more versatility and more modularity. There's no doubt about that. But there just always has to be the understanding that it will come at a price. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's why I just don't know that when we look at a $700 PS5 Pro, I don't know that the price should, I don't know that when we compare these two things, that the price is really what we should be focused on. You know what I mean? At least to this extent. By the way, I missed Cobb Sanity's super chat, and he said he got a Sony Bravia. Well, good stuff, bro. Can't go wrong. I mean, Sony makes good TVs, bro. Can't go wrong with buying a Sony Bravia, I think. Shadowlink says, MBG, don't forget they are using older tech that's discounted, and the Pro is using tech that's not even available yet. Michael, stop trying to trigger me, bro. Wabu Dabu with a super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, so according to this IGN article, if my PS5 breaks, there's no way for me to fix it. Why lie about this? I've been opening up my PlayStation console since the PS2 era and fixing the issues. Yeah, that was the next thing that was brought up here, is basically that, like, well, hey, you know, if something goes wrong in your PC, you can always just repair it and or replace it or whatever. But if your console breaks, the way that they word it here, If your PS5 Pro breaks and it's out of warranty, it's dead. It's a block of plastic and metal that'll never do anything useful again. But if your PC breaks, you can open it up and repair or replace whatever component is causing you problems. Like, I'm not saying that opening up a console is as simple as opening up a PC and replacing a component that went bad, right? But to insinuate or just flat out say that you can't do that with a PS5 Pro, it's a broken, useless piece of plastic and metal that will just sit there and collect dust. It's kind of like what you're saying here, Wabu Dude. Plenty of people have went out of their way to fix their consoles. There are people who offer services to fix these consoles. It's very strange, man. It's very strange. And I guess maybe the argument that would be made here, the most relevant one, is that, well, if the console is made to be a streamlined piece of gaming hardware and people who are buying the consoles are more casual, then they're less inclined or less likely to be able to open up their console and fix it. And I do agree with that, you know, to whereas I think people who build PCs are just going to be much more inclined. If something goes wrong, I'm going to open that PC back up and replace the component or fix it myself or whatever. But again, it's just a bit disingenuous to make it seem like if your console breaks, you're completely shit out of luck. That's just not true. There are means, there are ways to get it fixed. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. This is the IGN article that I came across. I must have missed it when it first came out, but it was pretty interesting overall. If you look at the replies underneath the Twitter post of this article, IGN posted, and they actually reposted this yesterday on my birthday. So that's, I guess that makes sense how I came across it. The PS5 Pro price is a little too reminiscent of a gaming PC, so we went ahead and pieced together the parts to make a PS5 Pro equivalent PC. Some of the top replies on Twitter are build that PC and then demo games on it. Back up your suggestion. Somebody said you went and pieced together something that can't even compete. Somebody else says, misleading at best, it glosses over the performance optimizations in consoles and neglects additional costs. Somebody else says, why would you want a PS5 Pro equivalent PC? The purpose of PC is to be more powerful than a console. LOL, you guys are morons. Somebody else says that GPU doesn't have anywhere near the ray tracing performance of the PS5 Pro, nor does it have hardware AI upscaling, but instead it relies on the crappy, blurry, smeared FSR upscaler that the PS5 Pro is a huge upgrade from. So it seems like a lot of people are clowning on this article and this write-up. And, you know, again, at the end of the day, when I look at this kind of from a bird's eye view, it just seems clear to me that this article was written up by IGN very hastily, with very little thought and very little critical thinking going into it, because they just wanted to get the clicks. And I'll be honest with you, man, IGN does seem like they're kind of turning into the new Kotaku, where it's just about rage bait. It's just about, we need to get clicks by any means necessary. And one of the most effective ways to do that is by making people angry and upset, or triggering people, you know? A bunch of kids writing triggering articles for clickbait. Yeah, that seems to basically be what's going on at IGN anymore. It's crazy too, because I mean, years ago, I used to actually like IGN somewhat. You know, I used to feel like they did a pretty decent job, but I'd say in the last like 7 to 8 years, they've just fallen off so bad. It's not good, man. Okay. Well, I think that about wraps up that topic. I'll give my final say on this though before we move on. I don't know how much we're going to continue talking about I don't know how much we're going to continue talking about the PlayStation 5 or the PS5 Pro versus PC. I'm sure it will come up in the future. And honestly, it probably will come up around the time the console launches when they're doing analysis videos, because I have no doubt that there are going to be a lot of comparisons. And that will be interesting. And I will cover that and we will dive into that. But it hasn't happened yet. We got to wait to see it. But generally speaking, I think my feelings on console versus PC will remain the same. I doubt anything will change them. And it's just like I have said many times, there is a place for both. I think that's obvious. I think that PC is very appealing to a lot of gamers, and there are many reasons for that. And it's completely understandable why people have made the decision that, you know what, I think I just want to go to PC now. You know, it just seems like the better option for me. But at the same time, I think that consoles have been around long enough, and more importantly, the console market has remained large enough over a long enough period of time to where I think it's basically set in stone now that there's always going to be a place for this type of experience, for just that single box you buy, you open it, you know, or you take it out, you plug it in underneath your entertainment center, you hold the controller, and you're playing games. You know, I think that no matter what PC can offer, what it does offer, I just think that there's still going to be enough people, universally speaking, that just appeals to them. You know? And I want to make it clear, I don't think it's just casuals. I don't think it's just kids. I think that's a disingenuous argument that some people make, where they make it seem like consoles are literally like toys or something. It's like, no. There are plenty of enthusiast gamers that like gaming on console and they like that experience. And that their reasoning for that doesn't really it's not anything super in-depth or super technical. It's just they like it. And I feel like that's kind of where I am, you know? I consider myself a gaming enthusiast. I consider myself a PlayStation enthusiast as well. But the reality is, like, I grew up playing console and I still play console, and it just, to me, it just feels right. It's what I enjoy. And, you know, a person who enjoys PC gaming more could show me every reason why PC is, in their opinion, just objectively better. You know, you could do this, you could do that, and look at this. And it's like, that's cool, man. But I'm happy where I am. You know, I'm cool. I think that's pretty much how it's going to be for quite some time. I don't see that changing anytime soon. Even if the PlayStation 6 does come out and it is very expensive, I still think there's going to be a place for the console. I think between Nintendo and Sony, these two console manufacturers are going to continue to prove that there is absolutely still a place for the home console, and maybe even Microsoft. You know, we don't know exactly how the next Xbox is going to play out. I don't think a lot of people have faith that it's going to go well, but they're still making a console, you know? Exactly. There's enough room for all of us. So there you go. All right. We do have another topic regarding the PS5 Pro here, and this is actually just a bit of a follow-up. So I have an article here from not WCCF Tech, from PlayStation Lifestyle. And it says, arguably the biggest criticism of the PS5 Pro is its price. The $700 retail price is a pretty hard ask for PlayStation players. However, PlayStation designer Toshi Aokai reaffirms that the console upgrade is an exceptional value for its most engaged player base. In a recent, ironically enough, IGN interview, Aoki discussed the high retail price of the PS5 Pro. Aside from the apparent technological upgrades, the big three tentpole enhancements, the upgrades to its SSD and Wi-Fi 7, they're all attributed to the cost. With everything considered, it seems Aoki believes that this console is for the most hardcore audience. Well, the technologies that I just mentioned that we are putting in to deliver new experiences for game players, and also not just the technological differences, but the SSD, the Wi-Fi 7, and the new technologies that surround the gameplay as well, says Aoki. So it's more of a full package that will give the exceptional value to the players, the most engaged players that we are targeting. Another big criticism of the enhanced console is the lack of a disk drive, according to Aoki. It's about giving players choices, as players can purchase the accessories separately. Well, with the PS5 Pro, we are offering all these new tech innovations, and we added the 2 terabyte SSD as well as Wi-Fi 7. We believe as a full package that it offers the most for players. As for the disk drive, it is an option for the players. Not all players have disks, even though most players may, but we have the option for being able to add that for those players. So I think it's more of a balance of the value proposition that we're giving. So I just wanted to kind of throw this in there because I actually missed this as well. There was an interview conducted. And I mean, I do agree that for the value proposition for what the PS5 Pro is offering at $700, I think, again, if it's something that interests you and you're aware that it's a mid-gen refresh, it's not a next-gen console, I think the value proposition, yeah, it seems, now that I've seen a lot of the games and the type of upgrades we're looking at, seems worth it, but at least to me. But yeah, I mean, them talking about the optional disk drive, we're trying to give you options. I mean, okay, Sony. It's a little weak. I get it. I get it. Most people are buying their games digitally. But would have been a lot better if the disk drive was included. But it is what it is. All right, I have one more. I have a couple more topics regarding the PS5 Pro before we move on. So this is another write-up from WCCF Tech. They say the PlayStation 6 may need the PlayStation 5 Pro to exist to deliver the expected technological leap for a few reasons, including the fact that producing faster and more complex CPUs and GPUs to increase console performance and features is no longer entirely possible. Digital Foundry's Richard Ledbetter recently went over why the mid-gen refresh console launching next month innovates the console space in a way that will be essential for future hardware by introducing machine learning in the console space. With the PS4 Pro, Sony offered a system featuring a GPU that was double the size of the base model for only $100 more. Today, the company cannot do the same with $250, but it's achieving similar results with the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution Upscaler, which is powered by dedicated hardware. Future consoles, such as the PlayStation 6 and next Xbox, are likely going to follow suit, as the cost per transistor has changed a lot over the years, and big size increases for GPUs are very unlikely to happen. With the help of AI, however, it is possible to achieve amazing results with only a modest increase in hardware size and power. Developing AI-powered tech, however, takes time. Back when NVIDIA introduced AI in the PC gaming space with the RTX 2000 series and DLSS, nobody believed the technology would amount to anything. Same with ray tracing, which looked like a novelty and nothing more. Years, research, and investments turned everything around, and today, the upscaler has become one of the most transformative changes for gaming in a very long time, and NVIDIA managed to bring path tracing into the gaming space. A similar amount of time and research will be needed to bring console AI-powered technologies to the same level as NVIDIA's DLSS, if not even beyond. And thus, Sony definitely did the right thing releasing the PS5 Pro with its AI-powered PSSR upscaler and dedicated hardware. The technology definitely has room for improvement, and the time from now until the PlayStation 6 releases will make sure things will be a whole lot different or be on a whole different level by the time the next-gen system launches, while also giving developers the time to get used to these new technologies and use them to their full potential in their games. So I just thought that this was worth bringing up as well, because once again, we have Richard Ledbetter from Digital Foundry. He, I think, is talking about the PS5 Pro from an angle that not many people are, which is that this is kind of a necessary stopgap for Sony and for Mark Cerny in order to try to innovate, like genuinely innovate in the home console space, where essentially gone are the days of we'll just put bigger and better GPUs and CPUs in there and call it a day. And there we go. It's a next-gen upgrade. We have reached that point where it's just become prohibitive. It's just not practical to do that. You know, the gains that you're going to get for the cost to do that anymore is just not going to be worth it. And so that doesn't mean that people aren't going to be expecting more, right? Just because that's the reality right now and will remain the reality, that doesn't mean that when the PlayStation 6 comes around, people are going to be like, you know what, Sony, it's okay. I get it. It's just harder to really push the envelope anymore, move the needle. So I'll still buy the PlayStation 6. No, that's not how that works. People are still going to be expected. They're still going to be expecting to be wowed. They're going to be expecting to see what they believe to be a next-gen leap. And right now, seemingly the most logical path forward to make that happen is kind of following NVIDIA's lead here, which is, AI upscaling, machine learning, these type of technologies. And as the article pointed out, and as Richard Ledbetter pointed out, it takes time to build this stuff. Like, this isn't something that you can just put together in a year or two and it's like, boom, it's perfect. No, it needs to be iterated on. And so essentially, for anybody who's not buying the PS5 Pro, there is a benefit to them. As in, if you are planning or even thinking about upgrading to the PlayStation 6, what Sony's doing with the PS5 Pro is going to benefit the PlayStation 6, likely very substantially. So the thing we're going to want to pay most attention to is PSSR, man. PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. We could see a very different version of this by the time the PlayStation 6 comes around, and it could be kind of mind-blowing. I think a lot of iteration can occur between now and when the PlayStation 6 releases. So, saying, damn, World War III might happen before the Pro comes out. Uh-oh. What's going on? Is there some kind of breaking news that I should be aware of? Did World War III break out, guys? Let's go check. Yes, I see what you're talking about. Well, damn, World War III about to break out before we get GTA 6, man. Just a matter of time, really. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what a modern day World War looks like. The last World War that occurred, nuclear weapons were created at the tail end, and essentially is kind of what ended it, unfortunately. So the idea of a modern day World War, I have no idea what that looks like, I don't think anybody does. This is what Nostradamus prophesized. Oh, shit. Damn. You're too old and fat to get drafted. I don't think there would be a draft in the US again. I mean, who knows, right? But I don't imagine that would happen. That'd be kind of wild. The end is nigh. Well, World War III will look like Metal Gear Solid 4. That's true. I appreciate the positive. You're like, hey, man, at least you got the new chair in time. You're right. I did. Well, I don't know. Hopefully world leaders can sort their shit out. I don't know, man. Peace. Peace and love, bro. All right. I have another article here from Push Square. It says, according to Martin Griffiths, the engine programmer at No Man's Sky developer Hello Games, the PS5 Pro absolutely rocks. In a post on X, he explained that he's been through all the PlayStation iterations and appears to have a very favorable impression of the PS5 Pro. And yes, No Man's Sky is on the list of PS5 Pro enhanced games. I don't know if I covered this already, but he says this beautifully staged screenshot is a fair summary of how I feel tonight. Many of you have noticed that No Man's Sky is now marked as a PS5 Pro enhanced title on the PlayStation Store. The only thing I'd like to say, as an engine programmer who has been through all the PlayStation iterations since PS1, is that this console absolutely rocks. So nothing major there, but just thought I would kind of throw it out there. That we have an engine programmer, somebody who's working very deeply with this console, basically saying they really like it. They like what it's offering. But the final write-up I have here regarding the PS5 Pro before we move on has to do with Sony fighting scalpers in Japan when it comes to the PS5 Pro 30th anniversary bundle. Being reported by Push Square, inevitably, pre-orders for the limited edition 30th anniversary PS5 Pro are being flogged for a huge markup on auction sites like eBay. But in Japan specifically, Sony is fighting back by requiring 30 hours of PS5 and PS4 playtime since February 14th, 2014. If you haven't logged that amount of time on your account, then you will not be eligible to complete the transaction. While it is a fairly low bar, it will prevent scalpers from creating new PSN accounts to purchase the platform. If it's successful, we could potentially see a similar system rolled out for future high-demand products in the West. Japanese players have generally been receptive to the idea, although some believe more could be done. Still, this is a superior process to the one that we saw in the UK and the US, where players joined a virtual queue and simply had to pray that they got access to the PlayStation Direct store quick enough to pull the trigger. As we alluded to earlier, some profiteers have already been flogging their 30th anniversary PS5 Pro pre-orders for up to $10,000, although some disgruntled fans have been fighting back by reporting the auctions to eBay. So this is something that I thought was worth pointing out, where I don't necessarily believe that this is going to be enough. It does help. It creates like a minimum bar. My question is, why just Japan? Did maybe Sony see what happened in the UK and the US, and then they were like, all right, maybe we should do something? I mean, I feel like it should have been obvious, but I feel like Sony should create an even higher bar. I mean, they shouldn't do it for all their products, but when we're talking about something like a 30th anniversary PS5 Pro bundle, something that's so extremely limited, but also something that truly appeals to the most hardcore fan, the most nostalgic fan, the fan that's been here the longest, right? I feel like what Sony should do is create a very high bar and give people a genuinely fair shot at getting this console. So I do think that what we're seeing here by them kind of fighting off the scalpers in Japan, it is slight progress, but it's a bit late. It feels like it doesn't matter now. I mean, maybe 10 years from now when we get the 40th anniversary bundle of the PlayStation 6, maybe then. But the playtime requirement should be much higher, like 30 hours. Like, bro. No. It should be Jerry A, you're saying 500 to 2,000 hours. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. It should be a long time. Yeah. I mean, since the console's so limited, only 12,300 made, it should really... There should be requirements here, man. But, yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw this out here because I wanted to ask you guys, like, do you know any reason why Sony would be specifically trying to combat scalpers in Japan? And like why they basically didn't do this for other regions like the UK and the US? Because I have no idea why. It doesn't make any sense to me. Because I'll be honest, man, if I was in the queue for the PS5 Pro for about 25 minutes, and I had read somewhere that by like the 21 or 22 minute mark, there were still limited edition 30th anniversary Pro bundles available. So in other words, I had missed it by like 2 or 3 minutes. And I don't know, man. I feel like if this limitation or this requirement, this minimum requirement was put in place, there could have been a real chance that I would have gotten it. And that would have been awesome. But I guess it wasn't meant to be. It's because I played on Xbox. Yeah, you're probably right. They specifically marked my account. Make sure this MBG guy only gets in when the last Pro bundle sold. You bought yours 26, 27 minutes in the queue? What? Oh, man. Maybe I did get screwed then. There's less stock allocated to Japan. You're thinking that's why they did it? I guess that would make sense, yeah. Hicksock, you're saying you got the Pro and the 30th anniversary Slim. You're planning to use the Slim plates on the Pro. Oh. That's a good idea. ACM, you're saying my guess is that it's a good testing ground. Jake, you're saying you got yours after 5 minutes in the queue in the UK? Damn. Well, I guess we'll have to see. I don't know when the next time Sony will do another type of console like what we just saw with the 30th anniversary Pro bundle. I feel like it might be some time. But I guess we'll see. But I want to go over this next topic with you guys. I'm not sure how many of you saw this yesterday, but man, people were going pretty berserk. Before I go over it though, guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. We're sitting at 187 likes. I want to see us get to 200 likes. I think we could easily crush 200 likes. Let's see if we can make that happen. But the next topic I want to talk to you guys about is a PlayStation 5 UI bug that occurred yesterday. That a lot of people... So there's a lot of like weirdness going on with this situation. So I'll just basically give you the quick rundown. Yesterday, there was like an update to the PlayStation 5 UI where anytime you hover over a game, it would start to show you the latest news of that game. Now, for those who don't know, although I think most of you do know this, if you hover over a game, like let's just say, I don't know, you want to hover over Horizon Forbidden West or something, what it will show you usually first, if you just hover over it, is the key art of the game. And it might play some music from the game, and essentially makes the game your background. And if you scroll down, they have a news section for the game as well. And if you scroll down, that news section will show you like all the latest news and updates regarding the game. So there might be something there, for example, that tells you Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered just announced. And you can click on it and learn about it. And then there'll be like other pieces of news, like maybe, I don't know, the last update for Horizon Forbidden West or the DLC or something. But the point is, it's not the first thing you see. It's not in your face. The first thing you see is the key art, you know, the way it's always been. And if you want anything else, you got to scroll down and look for it. So this update apparently had a bug, or that's what Sony is calling it. They said it was a bug where it changed it to where when you hover over a game, it no longer would show you the main key art, and it wouldn't play the music. At least I don't think it would play the music. But instead, it would show you the latest news and offers for that game. And people were losing their minds about this because, well, I want to clarify something. People were saying that Sony is incorporating news and ads. And the thing that really started to, I think, cause a mass amount of backlash were the ads. And we need to clarify something here with what we mean by ads, because I think people were getting way ahead of themselves where they're thinking that like these are literally like paid advertisements, and that's not what it was. When people say ads, what they really mean is, for example, if you were to hover over like something like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it posted up like the latest news image, which kind of looks like an ad, but it's not really an ad. I guess it could be perceived as an ad, but essentially it was showing you the review scores of the game. So I guess in a way it kind of does translate to an ad where it's like, oh, they're advertising how well the game reviewed. But it just looked bizarre because it's like, why is this the first thing I'm seeing when I'm hovering over this game, you know? And there were some more extreme instances where if you hover over like a Star Wars game, I don't know, it was either Star Wars Battlefront 2 or Star Wars Jedi Survivor, it did show that there was like a sale going on. It was like the latest news for that Star Wars game is that there's a sale on a bunch of other Star Wars games. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good one. You're saying Horizon Forbidden West had an ad for Lego Horizon. So yeah, so if with this bug, basically what happened is if you hover over Horizon Forbidden West, it just shows full screen Horizon Lego Adventures. And the reason why it was doing that was because if you scroll down, the latest news relevant to Horizon Forbidden West is, hey, just a heads up, here's Lego Horizon Adventures. But it looked awful. Yeah, I agree. It looked like a mess, and it just didn't really... It made sense for live service games. For example, I saw that Helldivers 2, they just announced, I think a week or two ago, a new, what are they called? A new war bond. And if you hover over Helldivers 2, it advertised the war bond. And I'm like, okay, like that kind of makes sense where it's a live service game and they kind of want to show you the latest things there that are available. But what really, I think, pushed people over the edge with this and made people lose their minds is there was no option to turn this off. It was like, this is just the new way it's going to be, or at least this is how it was perceived. And everybody thought that this was intentional. And some people still do believe it was intentional. They think that Sony saw the backlash they were getting and were like, just tell people it was a bug, reverse it. I'm not convinced of that, though, because, dude, this looked pretty stupid. Like, this was such a dumb looking... It just looked so visually stupid that I'm like, nobody would have greenlit this. For example, when this bug was happening... If you had The Last of Us Part 2 installed or The Last of Us Part 1 installed on your console and you hover over the game, you don't click on it yet to open it, you just hover over it, your entire screen is taken up by a picture of Neil Druckmann sitting at a table, I guess it was like a podcast with the cast of the HBO show. And it looked so stupid. I'm like, there's no way this is real. I was like, this cannot be something somebody at Sony actually thought was a good idea. Because it's like, this is doing the opposite of giving you any idea of what you're looking at. Like, you just see Neil Druckmann sitting there laughing. You know? And I'm like, this is so weird. I don't know what's happening right now. And it was a big deal. You know, a lot of people were losing it. And I was getting frustrated too because I'm like, this looks stupid. Later in the day, one of the platform managers for PlayStation basically said, guys, everybody calm down. Like, it was an unintentional bug. Like, it's going to be fixed. And then later that night, it was fixed. You know, this has led people to kind of wonder, like, wait, was it really a bug? Or was Sony testing what they could get away with? And my whole thing here is, well, there's two things. Number one, I feel like it's hard for me to believe that this is something that they thought, like, yeah, we should do this. You know, we should just do it. And this is how it's going to be for every game. Because it literally looked so stupid. That's like, you're going to confuse people. Like, people are going to be confused at what they're looking at and not understand. And I think you actually might run the risk. I think you might run the risk of actually getting people to, like, not buy stuff. It looks so weird with some of the backgrounds. Some of them made more sense than others, but a lot of them just felt like, what am I even looking at right now, bro? Raylark, you're saying that person deleted the tweet saying it was a bug. That's true. They did delete it. But we do have the official Ask PlayStation Twitter account. They say a tech error with the official news feature on the PS5 console has since been resolved. There have been no changes to the way game news is displayed on PS5. So that's why I do think this was a bug, by the way. I'm not trying to say like Sony obviously wants to get away with as much as they can get away with. But the reason why I thought this was a bug when I was looking at it was because what you were being shown, like when you hover over a game, is the exact same thing that if you scroll down one section to the news section, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. And it's just clear that like it was projecting that where like in an area, in a spot where it shouldn't. And that's why I said it's not necessarily like an advertisement per se. And that's worth noting. Like people, when at least I didn't take it that way. When we talk about ads, I mean, again, the way people were talking about it, they were making it sound like you're highlighting The Last of Us Part 2 when you're getting an ad for Old Spice. That's not what we were seeing. What you were seeing is the latest news for that game. It was from the news section. And it's just funny because again, man, if you look at the reaction from people yesterday, that's another reason why it just made no sense, because it's like people don't know what they're looking at. Like it does make sense that when people hover over The Last of Us Part 2 or 1 and they see Neil Druckmann laughing with Pedro Pascal, they're like, why are you advertising The Last of Us HBO to me, bro? You know? But in reality, it's actually just a little news blog that is, if you go down to the news section, like there's a bunch of news blogs. And that's one of the features that is available on the PS5 where you can keep up to date with games. But another really stupid thing, by the way, and this is what really got me. Like, this is the part that when I learned about it, I'm like, Sony, you need to change this right now. Was games eventually stopped getting updates in the news section. So in other words, like 3 years from now, you could pick up a game, an older game. I don't know. You could just think of any game that came out in 2020, like Returnal or something. Put Returnal in, and there might be some like news about the game. Like if you look at the last news section of that game, it was probably updated like 2.5 years ago or something. And that to me was just like, that's so stupid. Like it makes no sense that when you hover over a game, the first thing you might be shown full screen is a piece of news that was relevant 5 years ago. You know? And that's where I was like, that's just so broken. That doesn't make any sense. So anyway, the point is, it's been fixed. All right. That's the point. It created a big situation yesterday, and I'm really relieved it was fixed, because I was like, Sony, there's no way. There's just no way. I refuse to believe it. I'm like, this is so. I was literally on Twitter. I'm like, who greenlit this, bro? Who greenlit this? But all right. They take away the browser but want to introduce ads. I mean, I still wish that Sony would go back to the classic XMB design, you know? PS3 design. I liked having the cross media bar. It was very clean, very sleek, very, simple. I like the PS5 UI overall. It's not the best in my opinion, but it's good enough, Gets the job done. Yeah, and then what's even worse, by the way, is that PlayStation Network was down, apparently. For like 12 hours or something. It was all night. It was completely down. And some people were basically starting to think that they were starting to think that the PSN got hacked again. And I was just like, oh no. Oh no. Don't tell me that. But it seems to be fine now. Solar flare. If Verizon was down all day yesterday. I do wonder if something like that was occurring. I don't know. I didn't hear anything about it. So I got one other kind of bonus topic here. It's that second moon or some shiz. Yeah. I have one other topic here to discuss. Again, not a whole lot of topics today, but this one kind of came out of nowhere. It's about Tango Gameworks once again. It is apparently a leak that comes from, I think, gamesindustry.biz, and I came across it on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. It says Tango Gameworks was working on Hi-Fi Rush 2 and the Evil Within anniversary content before being shut down by Xbox. What about Tango's other projects? Why did Krafton feel these games, Ghostwire Tokyo, the Evil Within, helped to justify the studio's acquisition? We primarily focused on Hi-Fi Rush. It was more of a strategic decision. It would have been great to get all of the IPs, but the team was working on Hi-Fi Rush 2, and the others were working on anniversary content for The Evil Within. Knowing Microsoft's direction with the IP sale, we didn't want to push too far with the acquisition, so we primarily had Hi-Fi Rush under discussion before it would complicate the process and elongate the entire negotiation process. So, what's interesting to me about this and what we're learning, it's not surprising that they were working on Hi-Fi Rush 2. It is surprising that Microsoft would just shut that down after greenlighting it, considering how successful Hi-Fi Rush was for them. But the thing that really gets me here is that they were working on some kind of anniversary content for The Evil Within. I really enjoyed The Evil Within. I especially like the second game. And I feel like that's like an underrated series. And it would have been great to see I don't know what that anniversary content would have been, but it would have been great to see that happen. But what makes me a bit sad is it seems like The Evil Within is maybe done for good, right? Like, they were clearly going to do something with it, even if it was just anniversary content, but then they got shut down, and Krafton bought the team. They bought the studio, but they only got the Hi-Fi Rush IP. So Microsoft still owns The Evil Within, and I guess they still own Ghostwire Tokyo. I'm guessing we're not really going to see anything done with this, but I just kind of wanted to throw this out here because I thought it was a bit of interesting insight. Hi-Fi Rush 2 is clearly going to still be a thing, though. Again, this is why they were bought by Krafton. It was for Hi-Fi Rush. Cypherpunk says, not many bought Hi-Fi for how good they say it was. Yeah. It does make me wonder, if Game Pass didn't exist, how much would that have altered the sales of the game, I think it's kind of obvious that Game Pass probably, like, that game being on Game Pass didn't help it do what I guess Microsoft ultimately needed it to do, which is, that's great that you got all the accolades and critically acclaimed, but we need you to make money. You know? It seems like the last thing that Microsoft was maybe checking to see is if it was going to sell on PS5, and if it sold enough on PS5, you know, then they'd give it another chance. And Gavin Hillick comes in and drops a membership gift. The first membership gift of the day. Gavin, thank you so much for that, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, guys, Gavin is getting you started. Is this the beginning of a member train? Let's find out. Let's see if we can get to that 25 mark before the stream comes to an end. But thank you, Gavin. I appreciate that, man. Microsoft, let's put you on our service so we can bolster your game up high. Also, Microsoft, well, since everyone downloaded your game for free and didn't make enough, we're shutting you down. It does kind of feel like that a little bit, you know? I think maybe they were set up to fail somewhat, but I don't know. Interesting turn of events for Tango Gameworks at the end of the day. I know. I bought Hi-Fi Rush. I played it for like an hour and a half, and it definitely wasn't for me. It wasn't a bad game, but as I played it, I'm like, I see the appeal. I see what people like about it for sure, but yeah, it definitely wasn't for me. It's interesting to me. I think when Crafton bought Tango Gameworks, they pretty much did say that they're not interested in making money from this game or from the team. It's purely about like having a game like Hi-Fi Rush and having a team like this and having that in their overall portfolio. So it's kind of funny to me to think that like you got a company like Microsoft that is, you know, one of the richest companies in the world. Money is not a problem, but they're just like, nope, we're trimming all the fat. Like, we don't care how well this game is received. We don't care how many accolades it got. We're getting rid of it. We're shutting it down. And then you got another company like Crafton, where I'm not saying Crafton, I mean, I don't know how big they are. I know that they own PUBG, and PUBG probably still makes them a lot of money, but the point is, Crafton is nowhere near as rich or as Microsoft, but they're the ones that come in and are like, yeah, we appreciate this. We think there's value here. Even if we're not going to make a lot of money off of it, or maybe any money, we still see some kind of value. It's just so interesting to me that it's like, why is it like that? You know, like, you would think it would be the other way around. You would think it would be the company that has essentially an infinite amount of money that would be like, you know what? It's cool, guys. It's cool. We see the value in what you're doing. Ultimately, even if it's not making money, we see the value here. But I don't know. Sim Particle says, bro's got the Emperor Palpatine chair. Absolutely. It's because Microsoft is not a creativity focused company. Yeah, I mean, it's still just one of the stranger things. One of the more stranger things I've seen with Microsoft. Man, dude, this chair is so comfortable. I just like keep sinking into it. All right, let me see here. Did you guys hear about the new Joker movie? Not to like get too off topic, but from what I'm hearing, the new Joker movie is apparently pretty bad. And you know, I just wanted to bring this up. I haven't seen it, but I'm hearing it's pretty bad. And I wanted to bring this up because we were having a conversation the other day about the idea of like whether or not you should continue things or kind of just like let it be. And it's just interesting to me that Joker 2019 was like considered one of the best movies ever. And people loved it. It made a ton of money, critical success, financial success, everything about it. And it's like looking back on it, it's like, yeah, that movie didn't need a sequel. A second one did not have to be made for any reason. But yeah, then they were like, you know what? Not only we're going to make it not only we're going to make a sequel to this movie, but we're going to make it a musical. And I'm just like, why? Saying, well, money happens. That's true. And I can understand that. That's why I just think it's doubly weird that it's like, all right, fine, make a sequel. I get it. It made a lot of money. But then they're like, yeah, we're making it a musical now. You heard that Lady Gaga's the best part? I heard the Penguin TV show is pretty good, yeah. Actually, I heard it's really good. I don't know if I'm going to watch it, but The Matrix didn't need sequels either. Probably not. I mean, I enjoyed the Matrix sequels, like the second and third one, more so than I think most people, but I can also, like if they just made the first movie and that's it, that would have been cool too. The fourth Matrix movie is just like, what? I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, they absolutely ruined it, bro. All right. Matrix movie has that epic fight scene. Well, that's what I mean. Like the sequels had some good moments, but I drink your milkshake. I drink your milkshake. Capono, you're saying maybe MBG's let something great end does have a point. Yeah, I mean, I totally understand why when a product or a show or whatever, or a movie, you know, it finds immense success, it's hard not to do more. You know? It's hard not to do more. It takes a certain level of restraint, I guess. But yeah. All right, so guys, I did run down all my topics today. Again, not a whole lot of topics. Kind of sparse right now, but I brought what I could to the table. So I'm going to say this is basically the last call for any fan funding you guys might want to do before we wrap up today's stream. If you want to drop any more member gifts, Gavin dropped one. If you guys want to get a member train going before we head out, we can do that. If you want to drop any more super chats, any more direct donations, now is the time to do it. I do this at the end now to let people know because I've had a few incidents where I guess people were a little bit delayed or didn't realize I was about to end the stream, and then they, you know, yeah, I followed. I stuck to the plan. Yep. Kane Z7, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Says MBG not wanting to bring the conversation back, but an anti-woke YouTuber Endymion said on X that tomorrow he's going to release a video about Ghost of Yotei. How Ghost of Yotei is woke from behind the scenes. I've heard of that person before, and like, I don't know, man. Like, I guess my take on this, Kane, is that if in order for me to feel like I'm not comfortable buying this video game, if in order to make that happen, I need to see behind the scenes, like, here's what's really going on. Like, dude, I already know that. I mean, I guess it'll be interesting if he brings something relevant to the table, but it to me, it kind of feels like when people talk about the actress that they hired to play Atsu, you know, and they're like kind of on her social media and they're digging deep into her past posts, or, you know, she's a crazy political leftist activist. And it's like, okay, a lot of people in the gaming industry are that. A lot of people you probably don't know. A lot of people that made games that you did enjoy probably are like that, and you have no idea, and you still played those games. I bet you that's the case. This is where I think lines are being crossed that I'm just not, like, if that's what people want to do, go ahead. If that's what you want to determine whether or not you're going to support a game or not, go right ahead. But I'm not, you know, if this was, if she was the writer of the game, I'd be more concerned. You know, I would definitely be a little bit more, okay. So I know who she is to an extent based off of her Twitter profile, and I know what she believes in, and I know what she supports. Hopefully, you know, if it was a writer, it'd be like, hopefully that stays separate from writing a good, enjoyable story for this game that has nothing to do with that, or shouldn't have anything to do with that. But this is an actress, you know, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. The only thing I'm concerned about is if she does a good job, if she does her job well. And when it comes to like the idea of things behind the scenes, people need to just kind of accept, if they haven't already, that there are so many video game devs that you don't know their names, you don't know who they are, you never heard of them in your life, but they 100% played a major role in a certain aspect of a game that you played and likely enjoyed. And the reason why it doesn't matter, or it shouldn't matter, is because that person did their job the way that they were supposed to, which is their job is to not bring their personal political ideology or just their beliefs. They're not trying to bring that into the product that they're making in a collaborative manner for a specific, you know, not even a specific audience, but just for an audience in general. That's not their job. That's not what they're being paid to do. And they didn't do that. And so it doesn't matter. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, I understand that when you talk about artists creating art, you can't completely separate who the artist is, what they believe. Like, they always say separate the artist from the art, but sometimes that's not always possible. But I would argue most times it actually is. It really depends on how much the artist wants to impose themselves onto whatever piece of art we're looking at or we're trying to consume, right? That's really what it comes down to. Wait, Lark, you're saying wrong pronouns, LOL. Uh-oh. Oops. Damn it, Waylark. Nah, but look at Mark Hamill. He was always a lunatic, but we loved Luke. And that's the thing, man. Like, I think that's a good example. That's a good example of like separating the art from the artist, where it's like, now that I know what I know about Mark Hamill, right? Do I, like, when I look back at the earlier the first Star Wars movies, and I see the character of Luke Skywalker, do I think that, I'm like, am I enjoying it less because I know more about Mark Hamill? It depends. Like, if I go into that movie being like, oh my God, that's Mark Hamill, I know that guy. Like, I know stuff about this guy. Or do I go into it being like, that's Luke Skywalker? You know what I mean? Read and Weep, you're saying MBG and Demion TV was the one that just said they replaced the Tsushima team with women, then showed a picture of the 15 female Sucker Punch devs, even though there's 150 devs at Sucker Punch. Let me see. This is this person, it's not this guy you're talking about. This person says this is what peak gaming experiences from Ubisoft look like before activists took over. Games were made for men and filled with testosterone. You should never be ashamed, and we should demand more of this. Do people not realize how fucking cringe they sound? Like, as a grown-ass man with testosterone, do people not realize how cringe they sound? I need more manly men games with testosterone made for me. No more whamming. Like, bro, fucking God, man. Like, I understand to a degree. Like, I know why you're so angry and upset. Are there woke activists that they despise, like, masculinity? Yes. Are there some instances, not just in the gaming industry, but across all mediums, that they somehow end up getting in positions of power where they can try to remove that masculinity? Yes. But again, I will continue to say what I've always said. And that is, if you feel, based off of whatever you're looking at, that that's what's going on, find the thing, go where the masculinity is. And if you sit here and try to tell me that there is no more masculinity in gaming, you're fucking wrong. Here, I got one for you. Go buy Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. There you go. Snake's pretty masculine. He's pretty badass. Go play more God of War. I mean, Kratos is about as masculine as it gets. I got one for you. If you're upset about Ghost of Yotei featuring a female protagonist, just keep playing Ghost of Tsushima. You can play as Jin forever. You never have to leave. You can always play as testosterone-filled Jin Sakai. If you feel like the older Assassin's Creed games were more testosterone-driven, go play them. They still exist. The test is still there, bro. The masculinity is still there. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that most people probably don't look at things in life like that. I'm gonna say most people don't look at things like that. Hold on. Did Mrs. MBG just show up on camera? I love how boss is here just staring at me like, is it snack time? Like, I'm sorry, boss. It's not. The way he's looking at me. He's like, bro. But no, apparently you didn't. All right. Gavin with the super chat. Hold on, let me bring it up. I always say that. I always say it's a last call, and then I stream for like 20 more minutes. I know. That's true. Gavin, thank you for the super chat, buddy. You're saying Metatron did an informative video about Yotei and actually knows all about feudal Japanese military history, unlike the anti-woke brigade. Metatron. I'm going to see if I can... So I have another YouTube video that I got to watch as well from, I think, a Japanese YouTuber. Okay, I see. I have a lot to say about Ghost of Yotei. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into this. I'll look into that. And Josh Z comes in with a super chat saying, real talk, MBG, men that have a problem with women are just insecure and project that onto women who are mostly just trying to express themselves after decades of men saying that they had no right to. I agree, Josh. Let me see. I don't think you have to be like, I don't think. No, you're good. You're good. Mrs. MBG was getting scared that she was going to accidentally show up on a camera there. Hold on. I got to test it out. Hold on. So it's like. Yeah, your hand's coming in now. So there you go. But Josh, I tend to agree with what you're saying. You know, if there's something that I've learned over the years is that there are a lot of insecure men. I mean, to be fair, it's not just men. Like, there are just so many insecure people that they can't seemingly just not constantly project their insecurities all over the place. It's not to say that there aren't real problems. And that's why like I don't know how true it is with the person who said that like here's the female developers that Sucker Punch hired, and there's like 15 female developers. Meanwhile, there's like 150 people total. You know, it's like I'm tired of seeing men who are just clearly like straight up either misogynistic or sexist, and they are hiding behind that by just saying everything's woke and DEI. And that's exactly why I'm not using those, or at least I'm going to try not to use those terms anymore, because people hide behind those terms. Are there like deeper conversations that need to be had about, you know, people who are extreme activists that are ruining things, that are trying to ruin things, that are trying to take things into an extreme direction? Absolutely. The answer to that is yes, that absolutely exists. Is this solution and the answer to that to then go in the complete opposite extreme direction? No. The answer to that is not to do that. That's just as bad. And I just wish that more people would kind of become a little bit more self-aware and realize that the deeper you go, like dig yourself into this hole of like everything's woke, everything's DEI, They're trying to ruin masculinity. They're trying to, demasculinize everything. It's like, listen, there are some cases where that's clearly happening, but you need to be very deliberate in your evaluation, where the moment you start to mix in things that are not doing that, then the whole thing gets ruined. Once we start throwing things in there that are like, and that's why it becomes a joke. Boss is like, all right, I'm here. They're saying DEI is confirmed to be in Sony's agenda. Look at their corporate report. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah. Like, they want diversity. They want equity. They want inclusion. This is what all companies want. Hold on. Get down. You can't stay up here. And that's, again, see, this is exactly what I mean, though. This is exactly what I mean. Where people, when they hear the term DEI, they just, it's garbage. It's trash. It's the worst thing ever. And it's like, well, hold on. Maybe we need to not use DEI as a blanket term to cover everything, because everything, almost everything these days, is incorporating some level of DEI. In case you haven't noticed, there are some places that are doing it. There's some companies that are doing it right, and they're doing it in a way that makes sense and is logical and is balanced and is not trying to go in any one extreme direction. And there are other companies that are not. There are other companies that are letting the wrong people run with the DEI, right? And they're running all the way. They're running all the way to the other end. And that's where I realized, like, oh, I got to pump the brakes here, because I'm not trying to go to that end either, because that's not going, I don't think that's going to solve anything. But Josh, you are right. And this is something that too many people, I think, do like to ignore, is that it's, listen, I literally have conversations with my own wife where, when we talk about this, and she doesn't complain about it, she's just telling me, she was saying, as a kid growing up, as a young girl growing up who was into gaming, and she was much more into gaming than most girls were, I guess, at the time. And to be fair, like, there is maybe an argument to be made that, well, back then, maybe the majority of the audience was male, right? And there weren't as many female gamers and whatnot. Sure, maybe that's true. But she, would tell me that she always got more excited when she would come across that rare game that happened to have a female lead, or whatever. And that most of her life, she was playing games as males, And that's where I'm like, yeah, that's a thing that existed. And there's nothing wrong with, now that there are more women in gaming than ever before, women gamers than ever before, there's nothing wrong with, well, maybe we should have more female lead characters. Like, that literally makes sense. But that's where, the insecurity, it oscillates, right? Because if a person says, I'm afraid that all of Sony's lead characters all of their male lead characters are going to be replaced by females. There's like kind of a lot to unpack with that, because it's like, well, we got to ask ourselves, why are they being replaced? How are they being replaced? And who are they being replaced by? And this is where I try to encourage people, like analyze it in depth, Like when people talk about, I saw somebody put this out where they were like, they replaced Nathan Drake with these two, and it showed a picture of Chloe and Nadine. And I'm like, what? This is what I mean. And that that post blows up and everybody's screaming woke DEI agenda. And I'm like, well, first off, Naughty Dog, let's face it, they are pretty woke. You know, Naughty Dog, again, they don't hide the fact that they're a very liberal, left-leaning studio. They do not hide that. But what people at the same time are willing to ignore for some reason is like, so we're just going to ignore that Nathan Drake had 4 games and the 4th game was a definitive conclusion to his chapter and a really well done ending. And that the 2 female characters you're pointing out here, this wasn't even a mainline game. This was a spinoff that was totally separate. And that's what I mean, where it's like, no, like people want to ignore that. And I think that's where things get fucked up. I think that's where things get messed up, because how can you just ignore that? How? Like that is so critical. That is foundationally critical to the conversation, to the points that people are trying to make. And when you bring that up, they'll just be like, well, what about Aloy being gay? And they'll just move on to the next one. And it's like, yeah. See, that's where, okay, now let's analyze that separately. Why is Aloy gay? That's where I will say, well, just take a look at Guerrilla Games. Have you seen Guerrilla Games? Like, yeah, they are a studio that is very much about gay pride. They don't hide it. They've, and I'll be honest, man, like, to me, what makes Guerrilla look weak for doing that is not that they wanted to make Aloy gay. Because I'll be honest, man, like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit because I don't really give a shit about Aloy. Like, she's a character that exists and she's fine. I'm like completely indifferent to her. I'm not going to pretend to be any less indifferent because now she's gay. But what I will say is that what makes Guerrilla seem a little bit silly here is like, sorry guys, Naughty Dog beat you to it. And at some point, we just have to, like, the only concern that I have is when studio, and this I think is a fair concern, where it's not jumping to any extreme conclusion. The concern I have is, like, I don't want to see these studios start to kind of feel like they have to start to emulate and almost I don't want to say copy, but follow what the other studios are doing. Because I'll be honest with you, man, like, when I think about Guerrilla making that choice, I just feel like you guys basically saw Naughty Dog do this and then said we should do it too. And that's what bothers me about it. It's not what it is. It's that it almost comes off as very much like, it doesn't feel, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's necessary for your game or for your story. It doesn't feel like, Aloy's romantic life was ever a thing. But I don't know. It feels like it very much emulates what we saw Naughty Dog do, where they're like, here's the main story of The Last of Us, and then we're going to have a DLC for Ellie, and in that DLC we reveal that she's gay. And it's a little bit of a surprise, because it's like, oh, I never really thought about it. Yeah, because you're not really supposed to. Now, to be fair, I guess with the sequel it makes a lot more sense, but in the first game, like, that's just not really something that's supposed to matter. And that's where I just feel like, I don't know, Guerrilla, they're like, we could do that too. And that's more concerning to me. But why does it matter? Well, you're right. At the end of the day, Wabu Dude, it doesn't. That's the thing. It doesn't. Like, I'm kind of pointing out Guerrilla Games specifically, but I'm evaluating them more so because I'm trying to look at what I'm trying to look at how these PlayStation studios are influencing one another, because my concern is I don't want to see them start to fall into like traps where it's like you guys are just, you're all just kind of copying one another at this point. You know, you're all just kind of like doing the same thing. Because I don't think anybody wants to see that happen. That to me, generally speaking, is what should be concerning over, because like that's the thing. I do not care about Aloy being gay, dude, any more than I cared about. Oh, hold on. What the hell is this? Sorry. Just got a weird pop up. I don't care about that any more than I cared about, you know, her romantic life prior to that. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, that was never what Horizon was about. Anytime they tried, like, the only thing I remember about Horizon specifically is like, there were a few moments here and there with certain like side characters where they seemed like they were trying to flirt with Aloy, and she was just like, yeah, I don't really care. I'm busy saving the world. And that to me, I always thought that was kind of funny, because it felt like, I see what you're doing here, Gorilla. Like that's probably not that realistic, but it's because it's like, that's not supposed to be what we're focused on. Like we gotta like figure out what the fuck's going on in this world and save it from these, you know, robo dinos and shit, you know? But I don't know, man. It's something that I think people, they need to just try to, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, and I know that somebody got me. Who was it that got me going here? Who was it? Kane Z7, thanks a lot, bro. You got me going. But it's hard. It's hard to ignore, because I see it everywhere, man. And it gets so overwhelming where it's like, guys, please chill out. But what is the most painful to see, dude, and this is the most painful, is when you see people who garner influence, some kind of power to, I guess, sway people, which I guess we call that influence. When you see people gain this influence, and it's very obvious that, like, dude, you're grifting, bro. Like, you found something that's working for you. It's getting you the views. It's growing your channel or your profile or whatever, and you're making a lot of money off of it. And now you're just tripling, quadrupling down on that, and it will never be questioned, because you're making it. You're winning, right? You're winning. And that's what frustrates me, because that is what eliminates critical thinking. You get somebody who gets to a place of influence where they remove critical thinking, because critical thinking now goes against their livelihood. Critical thinking goes against their climbing of the ladder. So they remove it, but what drives me nuts is that the people who watch them also, they cheer that on. And they say, well, wow, he's not thinking critically. And look at how big he is. Look at how influential he is. Look at how many people listen to him. So I don't have to think critically either. Wow, things are so much easier now. That's what pisses me off, because that is what's starting to take over the fucking world, whether anybody knows it or not. And that's where if there's anything that I want to encourage people to do, is don't ever stop thinking critically. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody, and take that as, that's gospel. That's the truth. That's it right there. No, listen to what people are saying, then think about it critically. See if it really makes sense to you. Because you might just find that, hold on a second, that person's leaving something important out. Because the truth is, when the people who are part of these hive minds I speak of, when they hear what I'm saying, they immediately jump to, oh, you're one of them. You're one of them. I encourage you, go see what I had to say about Concord. Then come back to me and tell me I'm one of them. But then, on the other side of it, when I was talking about Concord, and then, you know, it's like, oh, I guess you're one of them now too. One of what? Oh, you're one of the brain dead, brain rotted, just everything's woke, the woke hive mind and whatnot. And it's like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not just taking a bunch of shit and grouping it all together and putting a piece of tape over it and labeling it woke DEI. Because that's what everybody's starting to do. Just like on the other side of that spectrum, taking all that shit, putting it together and labeling it racist, homophobic, misogynistic. It's not that simple. And anybody who walks around thinking it's that simple, unfortunately, they've been bamboozled, man. They've been bamboozled because somebody out there is making money off of your either lack of self-awareness or lack of critical thinking. It's designed to divide us, exactly. But yeah, it's frustrating to see, man. All right, we have a couple more super chats I have to read. We have Waylark, you're saying, hope it's the wokest game of all time and sells a ton. Yeah, that's not Waylark, bro. See, I feel like I'm losing you here, man. It's not about going I don't want that either. Like, I want it to just be a good game. But that's the thing, man, is here's what I want to you got me thinking here, Waylark. Cuz I think what you're describing is like there are game designers and developers that they do kind of have that mindset. They're like, I want to purposely go out of my way to make this game just in your face. And I'm not going to use the term woke, but it's going to be the most diverse and inclusive and left-leaning political game. It's going to be the gayest game. It's going to, everything about it. It's going to be over the top and it's going to be in your face and it's going to do well. And that's why when I went on listen, I want to clarify something. I've went on so many tangents talking about these extremist people who are on the left infecting the games industry. Just because I'm not willing to call everything woke and DEI doesn't mean that isn't real. That is real. And we have literally seen that. Take a look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, dude. Take a look at Concord. These are people who got way too comfortable basically just deciding that we're just going to go all in. We're going to project everything that we feel aggressively and people are going to love it. And you know why they're going to love it? Specifically talking about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? Well, because it can't fail, right? It's DC, it's Joker, it's Harley Quinn, it's the Suicide Squad. We got this. Turns out you were fucking wrong. You know why you were wrong? Because people can see that shit. They can see, Dustborn. They can see, like, oh, wow, you guys are nuts, basically. Like, you guys need help. You're very unhinged, and you're projecting that into your game, thinking that everybody will just accept that and that everybody feels that way. And when your game doesn't work, you then try to force your way in even harder by projecting it onto things that are already established. And that is when things get taken too far, in my opinion, where it's like that approach is just not going to work. You're not handling it with care. You're not handling it with dignity. You're not handling it with it's a fragile thing, man. And you get these people that, that's exactly what they are. They're social justice warriors, where they're trying to be warriors about it. We're like, we're going to go out there and we're going to put it in front of everybody and you're going to accept it whether you like it or not. And that to me is like, what are you doing? They're alert to it now. Exactly, Capono. You're right. the higher up executives that greenlit this shit and that flowed all the, allowed all the money to flow into these people's hands, they're beginning to realize, like, what are you guys doing? You're like making everybody hate us. You need the right messengers. You need people who know how to handle these delicate social issues, frankly, with care. Like, if you're going to attempt to bring that into your game, that's one thing. But if you're going to attempt to bring that into your game and then try to be aggressive about it, you're going to come off antagonistic, and that's going to lead to the opposite result that you're trying to achieve. It's like if you see two people, it's like if a person's walking down the street, and you just see two people fist fighting. You don't know what's going on. You don't know who started that. You don't know who the bad guy is. You're just an onlooker, and you're gonna have people to your left and to your right telling you, no, that dude started it. No, that dude had it coming. And that's why I tell people, I mean, you could try breaking it up, but then you're likely to end up being the one getting knocked out. Seen that happen one too many times. But that's where, like, the important thing is, like, you got to wait for the dust to settle, and then you got to be able to garner as much information as you can. And like I said, think critically about it and really figure out, like, so who do you think is the real bad guy here? I mean, truly. And then at the end of the day, you might find out they're both pieces of shit. Who would have thought? They're both shitty. All right. Gavin, you're saying, I prefer staring at a female character's behind for hours at a time if I have the choice, but I'm obviously not masculine enough. Yeah, there's that whole side of the argument as well, Gavin, where it is kind of funny to think that, like, what is it about men that they're attracted to masculinity in that sense, right? Where it's like, I want to play, and I think it's just because it's a matter of people want to feel like they can relate, or if they can't relate, they want to, I don't know, they want to kind of be in that character's shoes. And I do understand that it's like, if you're a male and you're playing as a female lead and that's what you're trying to achieve, like, I want to feel like I'm this character, right? That might put a bit of a barrier up for you. It does for me, where it's like, yeah, I don't know what it's like to be a female. I don't. And I'm not going to pretend to know what it's like. But there's like, but other than that, it's like, they're a human being. I know what that's like, But I get what you're saying, Gavin. It's kind of funny that, I just wonder where people's heads are at sometimes, That's all. I just wonder where their heads are at, where people seem to just get so upset. I mean, I'm over here getting upset, but I don't know. I'm just, at this point, I'm just talking about something we've already talked about numerous times. But I just wonder where people's heads are at, where it's like, at what point does the person who complains about others getting easily offended, at what point does the realization kick in that, but you're here getting easily offended? You know what I mean? And I think about that with myself. I think, like, at what point do we just start to realize that it's all basically a circus? I mean, almost all of it, really. Where at the end of the day, nobody has the answer. At the end of the day, no man or woman has the answer. No person on this planet has the answer. And yet, so many human beings walk this planet believing they have the answer. They know. Somehow they know something you don't. And it's something so critical, so important, so mind-blowing, so important to everything. They know. Somehow they know. And that's where everything for me starts to break down, because the realization I have is that you don't know anything. You know? Like, I'm not trying to take things away from people. Like, everybody has certain knowledge, of course. Everybody has certain expertise. And, you know, if a person literally knows more facts about something than you do, then yes, they know more than you. But I mean, I'm talking on like a deeper level of like the human experience. Like, when we zoom out and ask the really important questions, like, how do you know? And that's where everything falls apart, dude. And this is why I end up falling into a state of existentialism. And I no longer care to argue about this is woke or that's right and blah, 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 and this is what's best. And I no longer care to argue about that, because I realize that at the end of the day, when you whittle everything down, you boil it down to its core essence of the human being and the human experience, it simply boils down to one thing and one thing only, and that is belief. Putting facts aside, putting logic aside, at the end of the day, it's belief. Belief is the great divider, because belief is something that nobody can change for another person. Belief is something that truly comes from inside. It will only ever come from inside. And it is truly the epitome of the individualistic experience on this planet. It is truly what separates us. And this is when you truly analyze the way people behave, when you really look at it and look at it really closely, look at it under a microscope. And I mean, really try to, let's just strip away the layers here. At the center of it, there's a core belief that it does not matter what you throw at it, what you say to it, what you may try to do to change it. If that person decided this is what they believe, for whatever reason, the reason doesn't matter. See, the reason matters in the moment. I believe something totally radical and crazy. Well, that seems not right. Let me tell you why I believe it. Well, that makes even less sense. Does it matter? Does it matter to that person? It does not. That belief remains. And I just, I guess that's just why I sit here and I tell people, think for yourselves. Believe what you will, believe what you want. You come into this world alone, you're going to leave this world alone. So I highly suggest that while you're here, you consider, really consider, what do you think? What do you really feel? What do you really believe? Because that's what you're going to leave with. I don't know if you're going to take it with you, but that's it, man. That's why I just, I just can't get caught up in it. At least I anytime I do get caught up in it, I basically start to disassociate, because I'm like, this doesn't matter. Like I'm not interested in swaying people. I'm not interested in telling people what they want to hear. I'm not interested in telling people what they should believe. The only thing I'm interested in telling people is you have your own mind and you're free to make your own decisions. So, thanks a lot, Kane Z7. We were so close. We were so close to having just a regular, normal stream where we just covered some topics, and then we ended it. And then Kane Z7 had to come in and be like, let me tell you about this Ghost of Yotei video. Sage Infinite is like, what the hell did I walk into? Cobb Sanity says, for me, if the game is good as all I care about, and if it sucks, and I'll just move on to another game. And why is that, Cobb Sanity? Why is that? I'm going to analyze you for a moment. If I had to guess, it's because there's a belief there, Cobb. There is. It's such a simple sentence based off of very simple logic, but there's a belief. You know what that belief is? That belief is you believe that video games bring you enjoyment and they bring you something good. They bring something good into your life that makes you feel good. It evokes a good feeling. That's what you believe. And you have that belief based off of your experience because you've experienced this with games. And see, that's so funny to me how it's like that simple logic right there. Like you're just taking that very simple belief and deciding that here's how it's going to be. When I play a video game that I don't like, or I see a video game that I don't like, I keep walking until I find that game that brings me those good feelings. And then that's when I stick around. I take a seat. Crazy. That's so crazy, isn't it? That's so unhinged. Shems, thank you so much, bro. Shems dropped another membership gift. Belief is the enemy of knowing. Oh, shit, Capono. Shems drops another membership gift, brings us up to 2 on the day. Thank you for that, man. Oops. I don't know, man. This is... You guys basically got me talking all deep again and stuff, but... I tend to overthink, in case you can't tell. All right. Kendall Fire, you're saying, will GTA 6 drop before World War III? I hope so. It's so sad to see what's going on in the world, man. It really is. It's this world, man. This world. We have Disco Cobra 2013. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. You're saying you hear about the possible supply chain stuff. Dock workers all across the East Coast have went on strike. Might cause some shortages in electronics or certain foods as well, if it lasts that long. I actually haven't heard anything about this, Disco Cobra, but I'm not surprised to hear this. I feel like a couple years back I heard something similar to this, but I never like really followed up on it or looked into it. But it's a shame, man. It does. I mean, I can't tell, right? Like, I can't tell if it feels like the world is falling apart because I'm more connected with the world than I ever have been. Where I'm waking. Yeah, Sage Infinite, you're saying every day we wake up to more bullshit, but I can't tell. Like, has the bullshit always been there? Has it always been there? But we just now we're so interconnected, we can know about it, where previously we would never know. And maybe we were better off not knowing. And Kane Z7 comes in and drops a 10 bomb on you guys. Kane, he's like, damn, bro, I'm sorry. I basically threw you into an existential crisis, so the least I could do is drop some membership gifts your way. Kane, thank you so much for that, man. with that 10 bomb. You just brought us up to 12 members on the day. See if we can keep that going. Good stuff, man. My keyboard's crapping out on me. But yeah, no, Disco Cobra, I haven't heard about this. I hope it gets resolved. I mean, there's a lot of things right now going on in the world that I hope can be resolved, you know, quickly and effectively. Kane says, hey, MBG, here's some memberships to apologize for the rant. I appreciate that, man. I really do appreciate the support. And Nero comes in and drops a membership gift as well. Nero, thank you, bro. W's in the chat for Kane and Nero. It's brought us up to 13. See if we can get there, man. We'll see if we can get to that 25. I'm not sure how much longer the stream will be going, but I really wish my keyboard wasn't crapping out on me. I don't know why it's doing this. Oh, is it just not working now? Sorry, guys. Hold on. You know, I like having a wireless keyboard and mouse, but dude, sometimes it just gets really annoying when it just like doesn't want to work. And Sage Infinite says, happy belated, my guy. Thank you for that, Sage. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. And Disco Cobra, thank you for that super chat as well. I guess we'll just have to see what ends up happening there. Robert West, using his 12-month milestone chat, says, very serious from Maine all the way to Texas dock workers on strike. Stuff is about to skyrocket and could see empty shells very soon if not resolved. Well, I guess my question is, why are they striking? I guess they want better pay. I mean, I guess that's the assumption, or if not just better pay, just better pay, better benefits. They want to be treated automation. Wait, is that why they're striking? Yeah, I mean, this is it's the see, that's what's weird, man, is it feels I try not to like go into like doomer mode or whatever, but sometimes it does start to feel like the world is just like falling into crisis, man. Where, you know, how are people expected to work, especially such grueling jobs or grueling shifts, if the cost of living just continues to get out of hand and they can't afford to just live somewhat comfortably, you know? I don't know. Crisis is being generated. MBG, yes, better pay. They offered them a 50% increase over the next 8 years. They declined. So not sure how much of an increase they want. Well, I'm not surprised in a way because, I mean, from like a very simplified viewpoint, I guess, it just seems to me like we are living in a time where, and I know it's such a cliche saying, but it really is becoming clear that the rich are just getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And it's like, I don't care how much you believe in capitalism. I say this as an American who does believe that capitalism can work, but I don't care how much of a believer you are in it. You have to be able to acknowledge that, dude, there are, when we get to the you know, late stage, the upper limit, there needs to be some kind of change. There needs to be something to balance the scales, because if that balancing of the scales doesn't occur, this is the type of shit that you see. You see shit start to break down. Society as a whole starts to break down because you get you get people who are so absurdly rich, the elite, I guess is what they call them, billionaires just racking up more and more billions, while there's people out there that they can't even afford fucking toilet paper. They can't afford the necessities. They can't afford milk and eggs. And that's where it's just come on, bro. It's concerning. I don't have the solutions. It's not that simple, but I just hope things can get sorted out. If there's one thing I do agree with is I saw somebody in the chat say we need better leaders. I agree. We do. We need better leaders. We need people that can actually get us to a better place. But it's hard. It's easier said than done. That I do know. Okay, you're saying pray no issues in Ghost of Yotei or revisionism. Here it will be bad. Yeah, I mean, it would not be a good look if they were to go in that direction. I do think that one of the things they should definitely focus on with Ghost of Yotei is trying to be as historically accurate as possible. That's why I'm interested in checking these videos out later that people recommended to me. But they should definitely focus on that. Because if they stray too far from it, yeah, that's not going to be a good look. This is Bidenomics. Well, I don't know, man. People are just kind of waiting and watching, I want to point this out. There's this post on Twitter that went kind of viral with 2.3 million views. And it was this guy, Cabrutus or whatever. And there's a picture here. And on the left side, it says before. On the right side, it says after. On the left side for before, we have Ratchet from Ratchet & Clank, Joel from The Last of Us, Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima, and Nathan Drake from Uncharted. And on the right side, where it says after, we have Rivet from Ratchet & Clank, Ellie and Abby from The Last of Us, Atsu from Ghost of Yotei, and Chloe and Nadine. And this person says, next it's going to be Kratos, just wait for it, PlayStation fans. And see, this is what I mean. This is what I mean when it's let's take a closer look. Okay? Let's take a closer look. So we have Ratchet and Rivet. Before and after. Before it was Ratchet, after it's Rivet. Last I checked, if you go play Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, they have equal screen time. You play just as much as Ratchet as you do Rivet. Last I checked, if you look at the history of Ratchet & Clank, there's, I don't even know, I've lost track, how many games starring Ratchet? We're just going to pretend that, yeah, that this character doesn't have 8 games. We're going to pretend that it's this problematic. This is what I mean, dude. It's now problematic to offer a female Lombax character to get more female gamers interested in the Ratchet and Clank series. That's a problem now. And listen, if even if they want to give Rivet her own game, as long as they're hey, we're not getting rid of Ratchet. You can't get rid of Ratchet. He's basically he's partially a PlayStation mascot. You can't just get rid of Ratchet. He will be there. But it's what is the problem, dude? If you play Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, the game where this character is introduced, you play as them equally. It's just how are people getting this upset? Now we look at The Last of Us, before Joel, after Ellie and Abby. I think it's unfair to put Ellie there because before it wasn't just Joel. Before it's Joel and Ellie. But This one, I'm kind of 50-50 on. I definitely have. I wanted to see more with Joel, for sure. And I would love if they would do something. I don't think they will, but it would be cool if they like did like a prequel where it's like Joel and his brother. And I'm not gonna lie, like Joel's one of my favorite characters. But I've accepted like you play as Joel in The Last of Us. You get to experience his story. You get to experience his story with Ellie and them surviving and making it and going on that journey. And the sequel is basically about here are the two people whose lives were most affected by Joel's actions in the first game. And Joel's still in the second game, you know? So it's like, okay, whatever. Definitely not a fan of Abby, though. I'm not going to lie. Like, if like The Last of Us Part 3 is like, you're playing The Last of Us Part 3 starring Abby, I'm good. I'm going to do exactly what Cobb Sanity does, and I'm just going to be like, I'm out, bro. Ghost of I'm not even going to acknowledge the Ghost of Tsushima thing again because it's just like we already discussed this. Jin Sakai's story is over. People are acting like Jin Sakai is a character he's had like, you know, like there isn't closure for this character. And then Uncharted, same thing, dude. I don't know. I can see why people like I can understand why developers get frustrated and they want to start pissing these people off. Like I understand that. That's not the right answer though. But I understand like the game developers who see this shit and they see just how shitty these players, these fans can be. This to me is the shit that's got to stop, man. Where it's like being more accepting of some female characters and female leads isn't going to lead to all characters now being female. I don't know if that's something that people need to be told because I feel that that's something that should be very obvious, but I don't know. My struggle here is I don't mean to come off combative, and I want to make that clear. I think when people hear me, and I tend to get this sound in my voice where like I come off like, I mean, obviously I'm coming off like annoyed and man, you know, like what is this nonsense? But I'm not combative. Like, again, if you see that picture and you see the before and the after and you feel uncomfortable, angry, annoyed, offended, whatever it might be, then my suggestion is then don't buy or play PlayStation games anymore. Don't support Sony anymore. Go buy the games that star the male characters. Go buy the games. And if you feel like you want to fight for those characters, go ahead. But it's going to be an uphill battle. And I'll tell you why it's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be an uphill battle because there are sound reasons why these characters, there's a very good reason why you're not going to play as Nathan Drake in the next Uncharted game. There's a very good reason why you're not going to play as Joel in the next Last of Us game. And I say that as somebody who would have liked to play as Joel again in a future Last of Us game. But if you play The Last of Us Part 2, that's what they decided to do. And I was not entirely happy with it, but it is what it is. Not every game I play with every character is going to go the exact way I want it to go. If you look at Ghost of Yotei, again, Sucker Punch explains to you perfectly, like, this is a new character 300 years later. Jin's story's done. Beginning, middle, and end. Put a bow on it. And I'm not even going to acknowledge the Ratchet and Rivet. That one's ridiculous, bro. I'm not even going to acknowledge Ratchet and Rivet. That's I can't even believe people are trying to use that. And that's all, man. But we'll see. We'll see in the end what happens. Now, I want to make it clear. Listen, I want to make it clear that if, like, by the time we get to the PlayStation 6 generation, if literally 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 PlayStation Studios games have female leads, I will have to call Sony out for that, because that is now in the opposite extreme direction, where now there's not enough representation for men. You know, it's like you should have some male lead characters. You know, it's like that, but again, like, do people really think that's going to happen? You know, like that, so you'd have to, if that were to happen, then it's like, oh wow, okay, Sony really lost the plot here. Like they made a very illogical decision, and that doesn't make sense for this company to do such a thing. But we'll see what happens, man. Saying it looks like a 70-30 split with the female leads. I mean, I guess we'd have to run down every game and every studio, but I don't, even if that was the case, I don't know that I would have such a problem with that, you know, where it's like, if you think about it, it's been a 70-30 split, probably an 80-20 split for a long time, you know? So I guess I'm just saying, if we get to a point where it's like, you know, again, it's the scales are tipping a little bit, that's fine. You know, again, as long as it doesn't go all the way and it doesn't stay that way forever, it's fine. There's just got to be over time equal distribution, I think. And that's that. I just think it's that simple. You're saying, imagine Housemarque making Returnal 2, Celine going to call as a Riot 2. Yeah, you know what's interesting is they are making a new IP, so I wonder what direction they're going to go in there. Santa Monica Studio probably going to be a male lead. So actually, see, this is where things get interesting, right? Like, and my think little MBG just got home. He's like, yo, Dad, you still streaming? What are you doing? I should have been done streaming like an hour ago, but like, you're saying there's only Kratos left? No, I don't think so. You have Kratos, you have Sam, you have I mean, we're gonna have Logan. No, it's all good. I mean, I would throw Deacon in there. I don't know that they're gonna continue with Deacon or not. But like, here's what I'll say. I think the only time, when we should get concerned. So you're saying 90% are female? Not quite yet, Gavin. The reason why I say this is because we need to see, okay, like if Sony Bend comes out and they say, here's our game female lead, then our new IP female lead, then Santa Monica comes out, new IP female lead, then Naughty Dog comes out, new IP female lead, right? All right, I'll let her in a minute. Leia's being a pain in the ass out there. And then if we get Blue Point's new IP, female lead, and then Housemarque's new IP, female lead, like if that's what happens, where it's literally like, oh, okay, literally now the only one left is Kratos, like legitimately the only one left is Kratos, that's when it's like, okay, this needs to be, I just think that's too extreme. Like, there's no good reason for that, because it's like you do have, again, I've explained this before, and I will continue to say this as long as it remains true. Is like your audience, like half or more of your audience is male. So if you have like, you know, 15 studios and you got like 15 different games, and 14 of those games are all starring female leads. Like that to me is like that's overkill. And just like it shouldn't be 14 male leads either. This is why I'm saying like that to me is just the most logical way to handle it, where it's like if we see like 5 or 6 new IPs revealed over time and it's all female, that's when I don't think it's necessarily misogynistic or sexist for a person to say like, Sony, do you have any games with male leads? And they're like, yeah, we have this one game. That to me is a little bit like, not even a little bit, like that's too extreme, where it's like you guys went all the way in the other direction. That's not smart. Yeah, that's true. Until Dawn's an ensemble cast. So I just think you gotta balance it out, man. You just gotta balance it out. I say this as somebody who likes playing as both male and female leads, but I do prefer playing as a male lead in a game. You know, I just automatically feel like I can relate a little bit more to not all the time. I mean, but to certain characters. Like I do understand why men specifically, they like the badass masculine characters, because that's how I feel too. Like that's why I like Joel. I like Kratos. I like Snake. These are some of my favorite characters. My whole thing with this is like I'm okay with some of these characters going away or being retired, or it's like, their time in the sun is up. I'm fine with that. I'm even fine if like for a little while we got a new character or whatever, or we're going in a different direction. That's fine. What I don't want to see, and I understand why some people fear this, but again, it makes no sense to do this, because if they choose to do this, they're going to lose so much of their audience over a longer period of time. What I don't want to see is like, and we're never bringing characters like this back again. That to me is the only time it would become problematic, where it's like, well, that's not cool. Like there should be some characters like that. There always should be. But you can't eradicate them. You can't eliminate them permanently and just like make sure there's no place in gaming for these characters. That makes no sense. But if it's like we need a break, or, we need to maybe just go in a different direction for a little while, that's fine. I get it. Break it up a little bit. I'm not necessarily a fan of getting the same type of character over and over again in the same type of game over and over again. But, we'll see. We got time. Resident Evil gets away with having female leads every now and then. Resident Evil's interesting because I feel like they have a pretty good balance of male and female leads. Like they pretty much, that's what I mean. Like they kind of distributed it pretty evenly, I think it's a pretty good way to handle it. All right, guys. I think that is going to wrap up the stream, though. I extended the stream by basically an hour or longer. And I apologize for my existential crisis that occurred earlier. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I appreciate you sticking around even when we finish up the topics. Didn't I say an hour? Yeah, I said, here's like the 2-minute warning, guys. Proceeds to talk for another hour and 15 minutes. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. I do appreciate you guys, again, sticking around. Appreciate everybody who tuned in. The only other thing I want to ask you guys to do as you're heading out is hit that like button for me. But yeah, I just want to extend a big thank you to everybody who dropped some support today. If you dropped a membership gift, if you became a member, if you dropped a super chat, if you dropped a direct donation, thank you guys so much for the support. The official Mark says, but it led to 10 new members on the plus side. Happy birthday, MBG. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, thanks for all the support. Want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps. Devil, thank you so much for what you do, man. If you guys see him in the comments with the timestamps, show him some love. Give him some thanks. I know he really appreciates it. He does good work for the community here. So that wraps it up. Again, just hit the like button on your way out, and we should be back tomorrow with another stream, hopefully with less existential crisis. I was so close today, guys. I was so close. Like, I was like, man, I efficiently wrapped up all the topics. I'm making good time. We're good here. And then I just was like, nah, time to have a unhinged rant. I don't know. I don't think it was unhinged, but you know. All right. That does it. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I will catch you tomorrow in the next one. So until then, take care, everyone.